If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Asherz, and this is
Tobias.
Tobias. How was your weekend?
Oh boy, it was a weekend. We went to the Midwest Horse Fair.
I saw
Actually,
that.
yeah.
That's
So
fantastic.
Emily loves horses, and I want to be really supportive of all of her interests because she's always very supportive of all of my interests. And it's legitimately fun to go. Like, it's not the kind of thing that I would do on my own,
Yeah.
but I always have fun, when we go together.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we saw a bunch of horses. She bought a bunch of horse stuff, like actual practical stuff, because she goes horseback riding all the time. And so she bought, a variety of brushes and things that she needed. And we saw a really cool archery from horseback demonstration, which I did
Oh.
not know was a thing since like the Mongols centuries ago. But it is. It's an actual sport that people still practice, where you shoot targets from horseback with a bow and arrow. So pretty sweet.
I mean, that's pretty legit right there.
Oh, it was fun. Like that part was really cool. And I guess there are certain competitions where like you're required to go a certain speed. Like you have to at least be like cantering. If you slow down to a trot, then you're disqualified. So you can't go too slow, which is pretty rad, honestly, if you think about it. Like that shit's hardcore. Like you gotta be going relatively fast, and still hit this target, with a bow and arrow from horseback, which means like you're holding on to the horse with just like you've got your feet in the stirrups, but
Yeah.
more or less you're hanging on with your legs,
Yeah.
because you need both hands for the bow and arrow. So pretty sweet.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I love going
Yeah,
to you know, animal stuff. I don't know, just if I can go hang out with animals, it's not a bad time, Doesn't matter what
sure.
kind.
Well, there's always a bunch of horses like that are just in their stalls too, and you can usually go up and like see them and like pet them because most of them are pretty friendly. Not always, but often. But this year there is this equine virus going around, and so you couldn't
No.
pet any of the horses or anything, which is kind of a bummer. But it's fine, like I knew why, so it wasn't like that big of a deal. But
Would it have made a difference if you didn't know? Like, there's like signs everywhere that's like, "Don't touch the horses," and you're like, "But fucking why?"
kind of, yeah,
What is this
absolutely. Well,
bullshit?
because it would be bullshit because a lot of horses, again, like they're domesticated, so they're
Yeah.
really friendly. They like humans, and they'll come up to you and like they want you to pet them, like they're trying to say hello.
Oh, and you have to answer to them as to why you can't.
Right. And it's
I
like,
see.
sorry, I'd love to say hello. You probably think I'm a rude asshole right now, but I'm trying to make
Yeah.
sure you don't get sick. So you're welcome.
Aw. They
Yeah.
all went home, they talked to each other like, "Man, those people sucked."
Right. Fucking dicks. Not one of them shook my hand. Not one.
They
Fucking racist
treated
humans.
us like we were on display or something.
Yeah, right? What, do they think they're better than us?
Man, well, that's fantastic. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was fun. It was fun. But yeah, that's about all I have to report. Otherwise, I've mostly just been working on the new book and stuff. But how was your weekend?
Oh man, it was riveting. Let me tell you something. I watched some stuff. I didn't go anywhere or do anything exciting, but I
Okay.
watched some things and I want to talk about them. So I watched well, as I'm sitting here during the weekend and I'm editing the other shows that are on here, I decided to just put something on in the background, right? And I decided to put on Metalocalypse, of all things.
Oh
And
wow.
I'm always iffy, especially about Adult Swim shows, right? Not all of them hold up, right? Not all of
Hmm.
them are okay to watch now. And granted, this show is probably I don't know. It's over 10 years old. It's not that old, but still. I'm like, let me check that out. Well, since I stopped watching it back in high school, they have definitely come out with more story, which is always something I mean, of course I like the show itself, but I loved like the lore to it, the actual storyline. And of course was one of the fans that was very upset when it was canceled. And like they just came out with like a whole ass movie last year, and I think, or like a special or something. Anyway, so I started watching it and it does hold up. It is still very fucking funny. Still a very good show. And it kind of filled a hole because earlier in the week I'd had a conversation with somebody, and one thing that we were talking about was like nostalgia. We live in like this society that is like built on nostalgia. You ever met anybody born in the 80s? You know what I mean? They all live there
Sure.
still. And I don't really have that, or at least that this is what this person had said about myself, is that I don't really have nostalgia for things. Well, I had a really fucked up childhood. And so a lot of things in my childhood I really don't remember. On top of that, we were just like insanely poor. So like things like watching, cable TV was not a thing. Like things like video games was not a thing. Going to the movies, it just wasn't a thing. There wasn't a lot of like pop culture in my life in general. And this was something that I actually felt nostalgic about. So I was like, okay, so I'm not broken. It's just that, you have to actually have fond memories of things to enjoy
Right.
them.
No, that
So,
is a necessary component of nostalgia is fond memories. So
yeah.
that's cool
Yeah.
though. Like I remember that show and I liked it. I haven't watched it in shit, I don't know, probably 5 to 10 years, I bet. But it sounds like it holds up, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely worth revisiting for sure. I mean, it's still very funny. I mean, like laugh out loud type of funny, and I usually don't laugh out loud when I'm watching things alone. So, pretty good. And then, but I also watch. This is the main thing I want to talk about.
Huh.
I watched this documentary. Oh, here we go. It's called "The United States of Insanity." It's
Okay.
it's about ICP and the Juggalos and
Oh
the jug
man.
and the Juggalos fight against the FBI to get them debranded as a gang. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's
So
awesome. That sounds great. I would watch that.
it really fucking is. It's so goddamn wholesome. And Juggalos get a really bad rep. And we've talked about Juggalos before on the show. It's been like a thing of the past. I spent 5 hours in a car one time with Pato explaining to him Juggalo lore.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, it was pretty neat. But anyway, I sit down and watch this documentary. I was just curious. And like I said, it's actually really fucking wholesome. Like it is, just all about family and how, they're not a gang, they're just a group of fucking weirdos, right? Outcasts, black sheep that got together and made their own little family. And you know, I can relate to that. I think we all can relate to that. And it was actually really beautiful. And yeah, they're tone deaf, okay. About their approach, Violent J and Shaggy Two Dope. Like at one point, I think they referenced Columbine, and they're like, "Well, everybody in the newspapers talked about how like they didn't have any friends, and that's why they shot up the school or whatever. But they fucking had each other, And it's like I get what you're saying, but that's a bad way to put it,
Yeah, like wait, well, hold on a sec. Like whose side were you on in that
right?
situation again? Could you explain?
It's like I said, they're tone deaf, but it is really interesting to watch it progress because like you've got fucking Violent J's mom is in it, and she's just like this little old lady, and then
Yeah.
you've got his wife is in it, and she's so normal, like compared to him, and they're like in their kitchen cooking, and he's like in full fucking clown makeup, and she's just normal. It was fun. It was a lot of fun to watch and super interesting because it was interesting to see kind of the culture and the controversy around, the gang part of it all. And there really wasn't, just like most things, anything to it, right? It was another satanic panic, and that's,
Sure.
I think we can all relate there. But no, really, really neat. And there's lots of titties. So
Well, I would assume, but like our jagalos are god damn it. Now I'm gonna get jumped by a bunch of juggalos. No.
right.
Now that was not intentional. I just misspoke because I'm a fucking moron. But okay, are juggalos still getting picked on in the media, I thought people were pretty much okay with them at this point because of the internet. Like they've got a lot of good press on there, just in terms of all of the stuff that you just talked about. About not really, being a violent culture. It's all for show. It's it's fiction. It's just art. But it is someplace where otherwise, weirdos can have this sort of like found family. Like I remember watching a documentary, and I can't think of the name of it. Maybe you'll know what I'm talking about their like annual gathering, right?
Mhm.
And it was a really cool documentary. Like it was very interesting. They followed around a bunch of people who go to this thing every single year, and they are by and large, just relatively normal people, whatever the fuck normal means, right? But they could have been shit. They could have been fucking members of my extended family, no problem.
Sure.
And yeah, I thought it was great. And so I think for people like us who have our own sort of found family in our own weird interests, it's not too much of a stretch for us to see that in other areas of culture. And I just kind of assumed that was being more normalized now. Like people were no longer demonizing juggalos just because they like scary clowns and horror stuff.
I think that the media has definitely, chilled the fuck out about juggalos. You know, you don't really hear stuff about it like that anymore. But culturally, I feel like we all still shit on juggalos a lot, and I know that because I've been that person, and that's not fair or right. I think that the misconception about them now is not that they are gang members or violent; it's just that they're cringy. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And so people still kind of like, oh, so and so is a juggalo, and you're like, oh, you're in your 40s. You probably should. And then that's, I think, just like I said, culturally, that's how it is, and that's not really fair either. Um,
yeah, I could see that.
because
Now, okay, would I judge somebody silently for wearing full clown makeup just
right,
walking around in their 40s? Probably. But I am not the kind of person who's going to ruin like their fucking day if they're not out hurting anybody.
right,
So, yeah, I mean, as long as
right.
you're not doing that, fine.
It has become kind of a point there, but it's interesting. They show them doing like different charity events, and they've done a lot of fucking charity events, and they do it out of their own pocket. They've started their own fucking record label. They're not making all this money. They're making money, but they're not making
Sure.
all this money. The fucking guy who represented them in court against the FBI is a juggalo, and that's how he got involved. It's because he's a juggalo,
Nice.
and he's a lawyer. So it just shows all these different walks of life. It's not just fucking people that don't know how magnets work, right? I mean, they are people,
Well,
and
they're miracles. We know how they work.
yeah,
Magnets
they are
work because
miracles.
of
Yeah,
miracles.
Fucking magnets, how do they work?
that's true. That's true. Um,
Listen to the song, Asherz. It
oh,
says it
sorry.
right in there.
I'm not a. What did you say, Jaggalo? That's not me.
I'm a jaggalo,
You're
though.
a Jaggalo, yeah.
Obviously, I've proven that today.
Fucking Jaggalo. But no, it
Ugh.
was good. It entertained me. It was pretty fucking. You know what? It's better than any fucking UFO documentary I've ever seen. I can tell you that. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
And
I would rather watch I'd rather watch the worst Juggalo documentary ever than like quote unquote the best paranormal reality fucking show. I
right,
guarantee it.
yeah, it was good. Especially for a culture that you're not like into. It was really interesting. So, check that out and be nice to your fellow juggalos. They're just people that struggle with identity like the rest of us. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm kind of jealous. I kind of want to be a juggalo now, right?
I think everybody should have the courage that it takes to be their truest selves in
Yes.
public all the time.
Hmm.
And honestly, like I joked earlier, but I would not be judging somebody like internally for doing that, because I think it's something to be admired. And I think if everybody did it, as long as your truest self isn't like, a fucking serial killer or something, if that's the case, try to keep it to yourself. But otherwise, I think anybody willing to live that loudly. I think it's admirable. I think
Yeah.
we should encourage it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think that, and I love a good rags to riches story. I'll tell you that. I love that they were just some fucking poor kids in Detroit. And then they're like, whatever people want to say about Violent J and Shaggy Two Dope, they fucking accomplished more than I ever have. you know,
Sure.
I can't knock that at all. If you want to make it extra weird, okay, let me tell you this, and maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't. Violent J had a Bigfoot encounter. And not just that, Violent J went on to our good buddy Jeremiah Byron's podcast to tell his Bigfoot encounter. And you can go fucking listen to it. And it's as crazy as you think it is. So it's awesome, though. The story behind that's really neat. He actually, he reached out to Jeremiah and wanted to come on. It wasn't like Jeremiah was just, vetting random celebrities like, hey, have you seen Bigfoot? No, he reached out and wanted to come on and didn't ask for any pay, unlike the fucking bearded lady or whoever, and just wanted to share his encounter because he believes in these things. So you should believe in him too. Violent J, that is.
I believe that he exists.
Right, he does.
And
Yeah,
nobody can talk me out of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. There's pretty solid evidence there. Go watch the video.
I've never seen Violent J, but I believe that he exists. There's enough video evidence at this point. I think that it's pretty conclusive.
It's pretty good. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I did this weekend. I fucking got into Juggalo lore and I became a Juggalo and then I watched Metalocalypse.
Nice. That's pretty good. The only thing that I watched this weekend of any note is I've been trying to catch up on the last drive-in. And so I watched Rotten Tail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which was good. Because I had already seen like the prior stuff. What was it? Some movie from the 50s. I don't remember. That didn't really grab me. And then Deathstalker, which I had already seen about 1 million times.
He was the man they called Deathstalker.
Which were fantastic. You know what I'm talking about, right? Deathstalker?
Oh yeah. I only watched it on the last drive-in recently, but
okay. I had seen it about 1 million times prior to that.
I believe that about you.
Yeah. Oh, it's in. Okay, it's a sword and sorcery movie, which means I'm already gonna like it. I already love it just knowing that about it. But it came out in the 80s, and it was in that same sort of sword and sorcery fantasy 80s movie genre as like Hawk the Slayer and Ator the Fighting Eagle and like the Cave Dwellers and Conan the Barbarian and then Conan the Destroyer and Red Sonja and all that stuff, which I fucking love. I grew up loving that shit. I don't care if people think it's problematic. I recognize that about it, and it doesn't make me love any of it any less, because I recognize that it's art, and I'm able to separate things that happen in movies from things that happen in real life. And obviously, I don't endorse that stuff in real life in the same way that I don't think I should be able to kill someone with a sword and take their money.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not supposed to do that. But if somebody does it in the movie, fuck yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah, because you don't do it in real life, right? So how else are you supposed to experience it?
That's exactly right. Come on, that's the closest we're gonna get to being able to kill people with the sword and take their money, unless that person happens to be a gray alien at Stardust Ranch or something.
Do you think he took the aliens' money? Stardust Ranch.
I assume that's what went down. I don't know.
No, that is I'm not into those types of movies personally. They remind me of my dad. I think my dad was into them, and not that that's terrible or anything. It's just like I always remember being like, "Oh, this fucking movie again." My dad was Tobias Whalen.
Nice.
But it was okay. I haven't watched Rotten Tail yet, so I don't know how that one is. I have expectations based on the title. But I've watched it all so far. But it is good to catch up on it. Because I think that's this weekend now, isn't it? This Friday. This Friday,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the only one I've yet to catch up on is Toxic Avenger, but that's another movie I've seen about 1 million times. Like I grew up watching that movie, all of those movies, actually, the entire series over and over again.
Yeah, which is,
So,
we talked about last week. It's fucking fantastic.
oh, it's
Um,
the best. I just
best
watched it
movie.
not that long ago. It
Yeah.
was probably a couple months ago was the the last time I watched that movie.
How are you liking the new format of just one movie?
It's fine. Honestly, one thing that I felt was slipping a little bit was some of Joe Bob's deep dives, and I feel like they're back now. Where
Yeah.
when he's only got one movie to worry about, I don't think he has to try to rush through anything. I don't know if that is sort of AMC getting out of the way, or if really they were just crunched for time, or they were taking on too much and too short of a time, or what. But I feel like we're getting more uh, good quality, like Joe Bob fucking breakdowns and shit of everything, which is, I mean, honestly, a lot of the reason that I watch, because I can
Yeah.
just go watch these movies otherwise if I just want to see
Right.
the movie. No, I want to hear him talk about it. I want to hear him go on like, a 10-minute digression into fucking crazy town and then somehow bring it back to the movie in the way that only he can. I want to hear his weird rants. I want to hear him complain about stuff, like I want
Yeah.
all of that.
Right.
So,
Right. You watch it for the Joe Bob, not necessarily. I mean, they've had some really bad movies, right? They've shown some really shitty
oh,
films.
sure.
So but even then, even with the shittiest movies, it's still entertaining because of Joe Bob. You can still get through it. And it is fun to hear his comment. I mean, that is why you watch it. Yeah, I mean, they're trying something different. I don't hate it. I stay up on the Fridays and do it. With the whole Twitter world, and I kind of prefer having the one movie because I'm an old person and staying up until 2, 3 a.m. to watch horror movies is hard.
Right.
you know, I used to have watch parties at my house and people would come over and, we'd all watch it together or whatever. And sometimes I'd have to kick them out and be like, sorry, guys, we can't finish this movie. I'm falling asleep.
Right.
I kind of like the fact that it's just the one now. I mean, I can jive with the double feature. It's not that I can. It's just that on my own time. It already starts pretty late.
Well, what I like actually is they are still going to have some double features, but
Yeah.
they're going to be special events, which I'm
Right.
totally fucking cool with because just like you, look, Friday nights, like every other evening and all of the rest of my free time, is taken up with work a lot of the
Right.
time. And
Yeah.
so I need time to like do research and writing. And it's difficult for me to justify staying up like all night to watch a movie or something,
Yeah.
knowing that, I have all of this other shit to do. Cause like I need my Saturday mornings. I usually have stuff I have to get up early for. If I manage to watch like Joe Bob live, then it's only because I've already put in like an hour or two of work that evening before it started. Um, and so, yeah, like having just the one movie, generally speaking, I think is great. And then you have the double feature for like a special occasion, which I can
Right.
totally fucking get down for because I will plan around it and be
Yeah.
like, okay, just like any other holiday or special event or something, I'm taking this day off, and I'm not going to worry about work. I've planned my schedule around it. This is awesome. It's like a whole thing because otherwise, I feel like you kind of take it for granted.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I like the fact that it's every other weekend because then it's like, oh, okay, it's not Joe Bob Friday. So I don't have to like during the season feel like I have to pick between like going out on a Friday night or staying home and watching Joe Bob,
Right. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, driving. But yeah, I mean, so I like it. I'll see. I think they're trying something different. I don't hate that at all. Hopefully it works for them because it works for me right now. So we'll see. And we get like more Joe Bob. It's like more. It's fucking April, and we have the last drive-in. We're gonna have it all through the whole summer. Like that's nice.
I think it's
Um,
just year round now, isn't it? That's what he
oh,
said.
is it?
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
during Rotten Tail, that is what was
wow.
said.
That's what happens when you don't fucking watch some of the
Gotta
movies.
fucking
So
watch Rotten Tail. It's got the dude from Parker Lewis Can't Lose, which I guarantee is a TV show that you're not old enough to have watched.
never heard of it.
Yeah. So
You were
other
right.
like anybody else out there who grew up in the 90s will know what I'm talking about, and everybody else get fucked. I guess I don't know what to tell you.
Most of our demographic, I think, will know what you're talking about.
Probably.
That's good. Yeah, all right. Well, I'll have to check that one out for sure. So I'm just pulling up my news now. You want to hear some news?
Oh boy, yeah, I feel like I need some news.
I've got two of them. All right. So the first news I have is pertaining to the Loch Ness Monster. Have you heard about the Loch Ness Monster?
I've never heard of it. What is it?
It's super weird. It's a strange phenomena. It's happening in Loch Ness in Scotland. Anyway, big news coming out of Loch Ness. We had our first official Nessie sighting of the year.
Oh wow.
Which is not bad. It's pretty much right on par. It actually happened April 4th. A gentleman by the name of Perry Malm, I think it's Malm, and his family were vacationing right in that area. They were standing by the, can't pronounce it, the castle that's right there where a lot of people
Urquhart?
Yes, where a lot of
Yeah.
people report to see Nessie, and of course they see what they suspected was a head bobbing in and out of the water. Now they did catch a picture of it. The
Yeah.
picture's not very impressive. Honestly, it looks like a worm.
It's this
worm
piece of
head.
driftwood that's always there. No, I'm dead serious. Like I know the exact spot.
Really?
Yeah. Honestly, you want to talk to like, okay, do you know who Alan McKenna is?
I don't.
Okay, he's a super cool guy, Nessie researcher. You should absolutely talk to him online. Like he lives, he lives over there,
Yeah.
and he pointed it out, and I was already kind of aware that there was something in this exact spot. But yeah, it's 100%
Interesting.
just like, I don't know, like a dead tree or something that's in there. And under the right conditions, usually if it's pretty windy out, you'll get waves that will cause the water level in that area to dip down enough, because of the motion of the water, that
Mhm.
you'll be able to see this thing. But yeah,
Oh,
it's probably
okay.
not a
Well,
monster.
it's and it probably isn't. Like I said, based off of the picture itself, it's very uneventful. It seems. But of course, Perry states that this took him from being a total skeptic to, oh, there must be something there. This was reported to LochNessSightings.com, which is the dedicated database for these sightings. And they're not like completely strict about their sightings, but they do seem to have some type of set criteria before just adding it onto the website. So,
Sure.
I would think that they would be aware of a piece of driftwood there, but because it is the first sighting of the year, I could also see the drive to want to bring people to the website, if I'm honest. Not
Yes.
saying that there's a conspiracy, but
Well, if you have, I don't think any conspiracy is necessary. If you have a website devoted to the reporting of a specific phenomenon, I think that you are probably more likely to be permissive than restrictive with the reporting of said phenomenon.
yes, I agree.
So, and
I
there's
agree
nothing
with
wrong
you.
with that. I'm sure I'll end up covering this for the Singular 40 in Society too, because it is news. I try to cover all of the official quote unquote Loch Ness Monster sightings that are submitted to the official Loch Ness Monster sightings register.
Mhm.
So, but
Yeah, definitely. And you can go on as a viewer to LochNessSightings.com and check out all those sightings. I believe we're definitely not on track to have another record year yet. I mean, again, this isn't abnormal. Normally kind of the wintertime hits and then we get into the springtime and, then we start seeing more sightings. So,
right.
for it to be April and for this to just now be happening, it's right on par. But not the record year we had back in 2021, which was pretty significant. So, we'll see. But there's still a whole year to go. So,
Anything can happen, folks.
Anything can happen. That is my first news there. The next news I have, it's my favorite story of the year so far. This does not happen in Ohio, although it would seem like Ohio type of news. Um, the notes I have for this one just says Alberta man pizza stalker. Okay, so a man
That says it all.
Justin, I think it's Rybecki, an Alberta man says that he is being harassed by mysterious pizza deliveries. The first time it happened was back in November of 2023. A delivery came to his house of pizza from a company known as Pizza 73, which I think is like a chain over there in Canada. And first time it seemed like it was a mistake, and then it happened again, and then it happened a third time, and it happened at his job with like a huge order of like $150. The thing about these orders that are coming in, and this has happened a total of 6 times. But the thing that he discovered at that time is that not only was he getting pizza delivered to his areas where he was, but it's also being charged to his card. So he's also the one that's paying for them, right?
Oh, damn.
Yeah, that didn't happen back in the day, right? You just order a pizza to someone's house, it shows up, and they either take it and they got the cash or they don't.
Right.
But these are being charged to him. So he went as far as to calling Pizza 73, getting himself blacklisted from ordering from them. So that way this couldn't happen because he couldn't figure out why it was going on. So, hey, I'm not going to buy pizza from you anymore. Sorry. But then the harasser switched to Domino's and has now placed 3 more orders for him. And he doesn't know why it's happening. Doesn't know who it could be. But he is fed up. He is sick of pizza. He does not want any more. He is full. And so far, there's really not anything he can do about it. It's just a fucking weird story.
He knows this person. He
Right,
has to fucking know this person because they have his card.
Yeah.
And they're not ordering pizza for themselves.
No.
They're ordering pizza to where he is to fuck with him.
Right.
That is 100% some crazy revenge shit. So
it's calculated.
Right. He needs to really go over everybody he has wronged in the past year who would want to fuck with him like this. And the idea that I just have no idea who could possibly hate me this much. Dude, you fucking know who hates you this much. You just won't say.
Right.
I don't know what you did, but like, you got to undo it because this is not going to stop.
I think it's just like, I don't know, one of his kids, right? One of his kids is like, I want fucking pizza for dinner. And then like, he wouldn't suspect his own children,
Did they order it to his work?
Well, that's true. That's fair. I don't know. Kids do dumb shit, right? I'm going to throw him off the trail and order it to his job so that way he thinks it's somebody else.
Maybe.
That's
it sounds like some shit that like an ex would do. Honestly.
That's true. It could be a mistress.
And they would easily have that kind of information or could have that kind of information.
But I mean, how many people do you know in your personal life that has your banking information, your card number, or your bank account information?
Oh, I have some fucking crazy exes who absolutely could, and I'm surprised never did though, get into my wallet and like take pictures of my credit cards or something just to be able to do that kind of shit to me if I ever pissed them off.
Yeah. I mean,
like that's so easily imaginable to me that I'm just scared that it's going to happen.
Well, because somehow. He's like, in the one article, he's like, well, maybe it's like an ex-employee or something. And it's like, well, how the fuck did they get your card information though? Like, this is somebody you're intimate with in some way.
Right.
Like, you have stayed at their house. They have stayed at your house. They live in your house. Something like that.
Yeah, dude pissed off the wrong sex worker.
Right. And now he's like, and he's married. So like I said, it could be easily a mistress, right?
Yeah.
She's, jilted. So she's going to do something petty like this. I think, it's fucked up and you shouldn't harass people, but I kind of do appreciate this level of pettiness. This is good.
Right. No, I mean, that makes so much sense to me. Like he was just fucking around, and now he can't be like, oh yeah. Right. It's my mistress. It's that fucking lady who's not my wife that I've been banging. Because obviously, like, that's worse. So now he just has to be like, well, fuck, I got to cancel this card. I got to blacklist myself with the fucking pizza place. Anything at all, but admit that somebody that I've been having sex with who isn't my wife is now mad at me.
Well, and that's another thing. It's coming from your fucking card. Why don't you go switch banks? Like, it's like, I get it's a pain in the ass, but like, it's happened 6 times now, my guy. Like, do something about it.
Yeah, seriously, how do you not just cancel that card? I don't get it.
Or get a new, just go get a whole new bank account entirely. If I can start over, I don't know, but I thought it was fun.
That
Um,
is funny.
yeah, I thought it was a good story. Like I said, it's wild enough to be Ohio news, but not quite Ohio news. So Ohio news out of
Fair.
Alberta. So that's what I got for you.
Nice. I have one news,
Oh, okay.
a single news,
A drop
and
of the
it
news.
is USPS union official reports Mothman sighting in
Oh,
downtown Chicago.
nice.
So this is actually sort of a follow up. Well, not really. It came in just after the report that I shared last week. So, well, you know what? In some ways, it is sort of a follow up because it shares certain characteristics. Well, anyway, so this is another one that was sent to me from Lon Strickler at Phantoms and Monsters, and he spoke with a Joseph Palau, a Brooklyn, New York resident and union official for the United States Postal Service, who said that he saw the Chicago Mothman outside of his hotel window while visiting Chicago for a convention in 2016. So this guy is a union rep for his local union, which is a USPS, it's Postal Service union out of NYC, and he's in Chicago in 2016 for this national convention, and he's staying at the Fairmont Chicago in Millennium Park, and it's August 22nd, 2016, so you can set the scene there. So he's staying at this hotel, which is right downtown. If you're not super familiar with Chicago. And on the first night of his trip, it's August 21st, he received a phone call at around 10 p.m. informing him that his mother had been rushed to the emergency room in a hospital in New York City. So he's obviously concerned. He was told that he would be updated later that night. So he's like, well, I'm worried about my mom. They're going to call me back. I'm going to stay up, right? And so soon after that call, he decides that he's going to stay up. And he happens to be looking out of the 8th floor hotel room window of the hotel, the Fairmont that he's staying at. And he sees this large black object gliding over North Columbus Drive. And the object was level to the window and moving between the Fairmont and the building across the street. So at first, he thinks it might be something mundane, maybe a black garbage bag in the wind or something. But he realized soon that the altitude of the object was much higher than a garbage bag would typically be seen. And in addition to that, it was flying around for much longer than you would suspect any piece of debris to be floating around, because he watched this thing for several minutes. So he thought maybe it could be an oversized kite or a drone, but again, it's nighttime. He's in the middle of fucking downtown Chicago. Neither of those things are very likely at all, considering where he was. So he just keeps watching it. And he said it was a dark colored, 6-foot long humanoid with wide wings that just was slowly gliding around. And he said from his perspective that it seemed like this winged humanoid seemed to be watching a window on the building across the street. So Mothman Peeping Tom confirmed, unfortunately. Yeah, just close your blinds at night, people. Close your curtains. Seriously, it's not hard. Just do it for your safety. Fucking pervy Mothman. But yeah, so he watches this thing for several minutes. He tries to take a photograph of it, but his flash ends up just reflecting back off of the window. And so I included this. I wrote this article about it. I included this photograph in the article. It's literally just like classic flash fucking bouncing off a window photo. Like, Jesus Christ, Grandma, like, learn how to use your phone. Like, what is this? So, but
fucking boomer.
Right? Good God. But anyway, sorry, Joe. I mean,
it
if you're
like
listening,
a nice guy.
You're not listening. But if you are, we're just having a laugh. But seriously, don't use your flash from now on. You never need it. Nobody ever needs their flash. Anyway, so he sees this thing. Eventually, it leaves, and he doesn't say anything about it. This is the classic Mothman, or really any kind of unexplained phenomena witness, right? Or unexplained phenomenon witness that sees some crazy shit and then just never talks about it until they find somebody that they think will take them seriously. So he actually ended up hearing Lon on a podcast talking about winged humanoid sightings, and then decided to reach out to him after that, after sitting on this story for almost 8 years. And yeah, that's something I think we both experienced a ton in talking with various witnesses, where they sit on these stories, especially something as weird as a Mothman sighting, where, look, most normal people don't know what the fuck Mothman is. They've never fucking heard of it. They don't know where fucking Point Pleasant is. They've never heard of that. They don't know anything about anything. And so when they see something like this, they assume that, rightfully, frankly, considering how most people tend to be treated from my experience, they assume that people aren't going to take them seriously. They're going to be laughed at. And they also assume that nobody else has ever seen anything like this before. Because they're not us. They're not fucking weirdos who are into all of this fucking weird shit. And so they just have no idea about any of it. And that was this guy, so it took him, just a couple years shy of a decade to actually finally come out with this. I mean, I've talked to witnesses who have sat on stories for, oh God, I had one from 1957 that I took in like 2020. So he sat on that story for what? That would be
His whole life.
60 fucking years. Yeah.
Right. Right. His
So,
whole life.
yeah, I mean, this shit happens. But yeah, that's the latest Mothman news. What's interesting is this creature, when he was watching it, and the reason, I guess, this is kind of a follow-up and ties in with last week's story, is that it suddenly vanished. Like, he watched it until it just sort of mysteriously disappeared. And that's something that was the case with the report last week, and it's been the case in several other reports, some of which, I have had significant contact with the eyewitnesses, where I've been able to personally interview them, even sometimes go to the sighting area and have them show me around. So that's an interesting trend to me. People reporting sudden mysterious disappearances. And I don't mean like ducking around a corner and then you lose sight of it. I mean, you're looking at it and then it just fucking vanishes.
Yeah,
That's weird. And that can, I think, help rule out some of the prosaic explanations like debris or, a drone or even something like a bird or a natural animal. Like they don't tend to just suddenly and magically vanish. So
yeah,
weird.
not usually, in my experience. So I'm not saying it could never happen, but I've never seen it. So no, I
Fair.
like that. This is not another anonymous report. Obviously, I enjoy that part. That's a big deal to me. I'm just curious what the person in the other window was thinking. First is the fucking Mothman flying around the window. Now someone's fucking taking pictures of their window. you know, poor, if you were visiting Chicago about 8 years ago, and you think this was you, let us know. Um, no, the Chicago Mothman. One thing that seems, and you would obviously know more about this than I would, but I feel like one thing that seems to keep happening is this gliding motion. Would you agree that seems like a pretty common? Like it's not a flapper; it's a glider.
Yes, it's very unusual for people to describe significant wing movement when they're
Yeah.
talking about sightings of this particular being. Sometimes people will talk about it flapping its wings to get up into the air, but it never has a running start. Like if you think of like a heron or a crane or something, and these are big birds, the biggest birds we ever get around here.
Hmm.
And they have to get a little bit of a running start usually before they can take off, but not this thing. When people talk about it moving its wings, it's usually to take off, but it's usually it just takes off straight up after flapping its wings once or twice. But then once it's in the air, There's not significant wing movement. It does seem to be
Yeah.
gliding a lot. Every once in a while, somebody might mention like slow, sort of like rhythmic flapping or something similar. But yeah, generally speaking, a lot of gliding.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why, one of the big theories is like wingsuit, right? That's compared to like the
Mhm.
Point Pleasant sightings, which is more some type of bird, crane, owl, something like that. But yeah, I think that's just an interesting piece. Now, when he's looking, I mean, I'm trying to kind of visualize this. He's looking at this thing, look into the window of somebody else. Um,
Well, they're too far away for him to see through this other person's window, really.
right. But he's assuming, right? That's what it's doing.
Yeah.
It's peeking into somebody else's window. Is it's just like static? It's like stuck in place, just stagnant, not moving its wings. Is that right? Am I getting the
That's
right?
I mean, that's what it seemed like to me. Because he doesn't talk about its flapping its wings. Although, I we shouldn't fill in too many gaps. I think
Sure,
when it comes to witness testimony, because just because somebody didn't mention something doesn't mean that it didn't happen. You know,
absolutely,
that could have been a detail that he just left out.
sure,
But yeah, I mean, he does describe it as gliding around without mentioning it flapping its wings or anything. And I think that if it was flapping its wings a lot, he probably would have mentioned it. Although, here's the thing: people don't necessarily always realize too. Huge birds, they don't flap their wings that much, like
they
not as
don't.
much as
Yeah,
you would expect.
hmm
They do manage to ride around, just kind of gliding on air currents and stuff, a lot of the time. And they're so big, I think that they don't have to flap as often as say like a hummingbird, right?
yeah, yeah. They're very aerodynamic. Um, there's a reason why they fly, right? It's a good. They know how. But I didn't know if it was like floating there or
I think it was
flying there.
moving. I don't think it was
Gotcha,
hovering
gotcha.
at any point. I think it was sort of fly. He said flying back and forth. So I'm picturing it like flying sort of across his point of view towards this other building and then back and kind of doing that repetitively for a few minutes and then vanishing.
Like any bird of prey, right? You'll see it kind of gliding through in a
Yeah.
circle sometimes, right? They spot something. Look at turkey vultures. They're trying to get something. They're kind of gliding, maybe flapping sometimes. I gotcha. I was just trying to make sure. We can't rule out that Mothman himself is a drone craft of some sort. So I was just curious if he was
You
hovering
can't
or.
rule out a lot of stuff. I mean, guaranteed some of these sightings, at least the ones I've investigated, like in the Lake Michigan Mothman investigation, are definitely large birds.
Yeah,
100% definitely fucking are. Not all of them, but some of them, like a significant number, definitely are. Maybe as many as 40%. You know,
sure,
um,
sure.
and so it's definitely something to consider. I don't know. I don't think it was necessarily in this case, unless he changed some details. You know, because he would have likely recognized that this was a large bird. Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, it's definitely something to think about. And there are a lot of similarities, between the Point Pleasant sightings that are ongoing, and the stuff people have reported around Lake Michigan and in the Midwest and even up into Canada. And most of the major differences that I have seen can be explained by misidentification. So most when people talk about like major differences in reported sightings between Point Pleasant and the Midwest, basically, what they're really deciphering is that some of the cases here that have been uh, reported and publicized are misidentifications, usually of large birds, and the paranormal cases are very fucking similar, like eerily
Right.
similar, which is why I refer to them both as the same thing to contextualize them, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely. It is. It is interesting. And as a Mothman witness, I agree that there are definitely sightings that are misidentified. There's definitely sightings that are just straight up made the fuck up. Like,
Oh, sure.
you know, we see those too. I mean, but I agree. There's certain elements to it. It's hard to say when you have somebody that says, "Look, I just saw this thing kind of fly in front of me, and it looked very human." You get a lot of that, but you also get a lot of disappearing. You've got the Keel talks about the glimmering thing that seems to happen, and I have talked to people who claim that happened in their instance. You've got, it just depends on the story. Yeah, it depends on the story, and that is
Sure.
just kind of where it's at. So yeah, that's interesting. Like I said, my thing about this, and it doesn't, for some people, I don't think they quite understand, but I'm excited that there's actually a fucking face to the sighting this
Yep.
time.
Yes, I have had several witnesses who have been willing to go on the record. Some of them
Mhm.
have been willing to like appear in documentaries or on television with me, which I can't tell you how thankful I am for that.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it makes a big difference. And something that I've always tried to do. I've never pressured anybody to go on the record and do anything that makes them uncomfortable, but I like to feel like I have worked hard to create an environment that makes people comfortable enough to be willing to share their experiences publicly. And
Yeah.
so it's really nice that Lon um, found this person, or this person found Lon and then was willing to go on the record. They even, I mean, they shared a photograph of themselves in Chicago during their trip to like prove they were there. And so
Mhm.
no fucks have been given by this witness, not a
Right.
single fuck,
Right.
which is really impressive because that in and of itself is pretty rare. Um, but some people are just like that. They get to a certain point in their life, they have attained a certain career level, and they're just like, you know what? I got nothing to fucking prove or disprove to anybody. And so this happened. I'm not saying it's any one thing or another, but it's what I fucking saw. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's not to say that anonymous reports are unwelcome. They're
of
not.
course.
It's just that this adds just even a shred of credibility to it. Not that, again, anonymous reports are not credible, but just science doesn't work that way. You can't just be like, well, something happened to me one time and you can't know who I am, and that's that. Like, you have to
Right.
have a little bit more to it. And when you're trying to, add to the equation here, it just helps, it just helps. And
Well,
so
every
good for
one of
him.
these reports that I publish officially, I know who the fucking witness is. I
Right.
might not be able to
Right.
tell other people, but I know. But even that, like, people shouldn't have to take my fucking word for everything.
Yeah,
You know.
true. Very true. Right. That's,
So,
when these people are willing to identify themselves, that means that they are putting their reputation on the line to come forward and tell their story. And that's a big fucking deal. It's a big fucking deal when you are, somebody can Google your fucking name and here you are on this crazy guy's website talking about your Mothman encounter. Like
right.
that's pretty significant. And that's good for him. Good for him for, coming out and sharing his story for sure.
Agreed.
Um, I can't praise him enough. I mean, but again, anonymous reports are still okay too. I just don't want you guys to think that I don't believe you because you're reporting anonymously. It's not that at all. It's just like I said, when you're willing to stake your reputation, for your sighting, that's pretty hardcore. That's
Yep.
that's, that's pretty metal right there. So good
It
for him.
is.
Interesting. Well, did you haven't talked to him yet? Is that right? Or I don't know if you plan to or.
No,
Okay.
I would be willing to.
Hmm.
It's not something that I'm going to go out of my way to do right now,
Sure.
and the reason being that it's old enough, and he lives all the way out on the East Coast,
Hmm.
and so other than, and I've done this before, where either I'll talk to somebody first or Lon will talk to somebody first, and then then the other person will go and interview that same witness. And so again, like, I would be willing to do it, but at the same time, there's not a ton. And this isn't going to sound great, but it's the truth. There isn't a ton of value in me making time for that right
Sure.
now. With everything else that I have going on, it's just a cost benefit, thing where you have to weigh those against each other. And so, yeah, I would be willing to, but it's not something where I've gone out of my way to be like, oh, you have to let me talk to this guy. I
Right.
feel like we have his reports and I could talk to him and he'd probably tell me the exact same thing. And there is some value to that, but considering that the other circumstances, just not enough for me to be truly compelled to make it a huge priority right now.
Well, and that's also why us networking and having, kind of a team of us in different areas is really important. If you can find other researchers that you trust their judgment, you trust their process, and you can, maybe they get a witness report, maybe they go ahead and take on the interviewing. That way, we're not bombarding these witnesses, right? We're not harassing them to the point of, tell your story again, tell it again, guy, over and over again.
Yes.
Because while they want to get their story out there, it's not all they want to talk about. They have lives and
That is
families.
such a good fucking point. And it honestly segues perfectly into what we're going to be talking
Yes.
about today.
Yeah.
And that is investigatory tips, right? Tips and tricks.
Yep. Tips, tricks, and
Um,
tools, anything and
right.
everything you need to hunt monsters.
And I got to say, like, what you just said is so fucking important and something
Mhm.
people should remember. Because I recall when everything first kicked off in the spring of 2017, there were a ton of investigators hounding everybody for like witness information. And it was very apparent to me that there were just people coming out of the woodwork who thought, "Hey, this is a big deal. This is a big case. I'm going to or I have an opportunity to make a name for myself if I can just figure out how to make this investigation about me." And so they would do everything they could to try to get this witness info, and then they would cry foul when people wouldn't give it to them. But the fucking reality is these witnesses are not here to fucking perform for you. This is not the circus, and they don't fucking dance for peanuts,
Yeah.
like the idea that all of these people, many of whom want to be anonymous, and also many of whom have gone through something that, regardless of what you think it was some level of traumatic for them, don't want to
Mhm.
have to talk to an endless string of fucking strangers just so you can try to make a name for yourself, just so
Right.
you can say, hey, look at what a big deal, famous fucking investigator I am. I'm the next fucking John Keel, like fuck that shit so hard. I have never once insisted that somebody give me witness info. If they want to, because I can help with the investigation somehow, great. I'm happy to
Yeah.
fucking do it. But just because somebody didn't talk to me doesn't make their testimony unimportant, doesn't make it invalid. And if people would just set their fucking ego aside for a minute and realize that the end goal of this is not to have your own fucking reality television show, I think they would understand that people don't want to be treated that way because they're not a
Yeah.
curiosity, they're a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That is the difference between actually conducting investigations and research and doing this for entertainment value. Is that you have to understand at the end of the day, doesn't matter. These are people. These are real fucking people with real fucking lives and real experiences. Whether doesn't matter what that experience ended up being, right? It doesn't matter if they actually saw a Mothman. It doesn't matter if they actually hugged a Bigfoot, right? It doesn't matter if they were
Yeah.
chased by a dog man. They still believe that happened to them, and you have to go into it assuming that what they're telling you is 100% true at minimum in their eyes. And so I
Yes.
mean, yeah, I agree. You're right. It's not enough to just collect their stories on a website for you to get clicks. It's not enough for you to, harass these people to come on your show and talk about their experiences, or, whatever the case may be. I know that sounds really hypocritical as somebody that just came out with a show where people come on and share their experiences, but the difference is that I will never ask somebody to do it. They will come to me,
Yeah.
and
They're volunteering.
I will let them. Yeah. That's it.
That's a huge difference. Yeah. The vast majority of the witnesses with whom I have worked came to me. They reached out to me because they wanted to tell their story. They wanted somebody to investigate their experiences. They wanted to share it. There has been once or twice where I've seen somebody share something in a public forum online, and I've reached out to them, and they have been willing to speak to me. But I have never hounded somebody. I have never accused an investigator of fucking hoaxing something
Yeah.
just because I was mad that they wouldn't give somebody or that they wouldn't give me somebody's private contact info. Like all of that shit is just pure ego, and it has nothing to do with wanting to conduct an investigation better and everything to do with people trying to take ownership of these stories, of other people's experiences, of these phenomena,
Yeah.
in order to monetize them, in order to promote themselves, to elevate what they see as their position in this field, which is fucking gross. Don't do it.
Yeah, definitely. I've reached out to people, for sure. Most of the time, it's been more well-known sightings and things like that. It just depends. I mean, sometimes it's because they have a murky type of situation, and I'll reach out to them, but I'm not like, hey, you talk to me, or like I'm gonna tell everybody your story's fake, or they blow me off. It happens, you know, and it's whatever. I can't take that personally. It is what it is. I
Right.
have curated some really fantastic friendships with some of these people. And it feels good, absolutely. And it doesn't feel good because I can be like, oh, I know so and so, because I don't flex like that. It feels good because these people are trusting me enough, not just with their stories, but with their personal lives, to kind of get to know them on that level.
Yeah.
And I don't mind being that comfort for them. Some of these people, they will reach out to me and continue to reach out to me over and over again, because it's validating to their experiences where they already feel fucking crazy. And if you're somebody that's ever experienced anything like this, even remotely close, sometimes you question your own damn self. And it does feel good to have somebody in your corner to be like, no, I believe you. So I don't mind being that person. But yeah, at the end of the day, again, these are real stories. Betty and Barney Hill, real fucking people. you
Right.
Anybody you can think of. Roger Patterson, real fucking person. He's dead now. I mean, these are dead people, but still,
Sure.
you have to keep that in mind. No matter what. And I typically won't reach out to somebody unless I feel like I have to. Unless I feel like it's necessary. So it
Right.
just depends. I made a move recently, which I think everybody knows about. I wrote a letter to Ray Shockey, um, and offered for him to come talk to me, and he has not taken me up on that offer. So therefore, what I'm going to tell everybody, and what I'm going to personally do, is just leave the fucking guy alone. Like, he knows
Right.
where to go if he wants to talk to somebody about this. He's been given that opportunity. He didn't want to. That's okay. He doesn't have to. Like, none of these people owe you their time just because they
Right.
experienced something wild. So yes, good soapbox. That was a good one.
No, I agree. I mean, people ask. I'm sure they ask you all the time. They ask me, how do you get into this stuff? How do you start investigating? And I think we covered step one. You have to be empathetic, and you have to always remember that these are human beings, and that is to say, before you ever even think about investigating the paranormal, you have to make sure you're getting into it for the right fucking reasons.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to help people, like if that isn't what you're interested in, at least somewhat, if that isn't even at least a part of why you do this, just go do fucking anything else.
Right.
Any fucking thing else. Because you're going to end up talking to so many people who need your help, if only to lend in empathetic ear, right? If only to provide them with the catharsis of being able to tell their story to somebody who will actually listen to them. And if you're just getting into this because you want to be fucking famous, first of all, fuck you. And second of all, you're never going to be in a position to provide people with that. You're just going to be using them, and they're going to pick up on it, and they're not going to get the same comfort that they would speaking to somebody who doesn't fucking suck.
Yeah.
So just don't even bother. Just do us all a favor and fucking don't.
You get an acting or something, like
There you go.
you can do other things that doesn't fuck with people's lives.
Absolutely.
On that type of level. And, not to mention just, we'll kind of talk about that for a second, doing this to achieve, getting a reality show, or whatever, having some type of big fame. You can make money doing this. It's hard. It is the hardest thing that you will ever do in your entire life, probably. Monetizing this to the point to where you can quit your day job and strictly make money doing what you're doing. You're talking 24/7 work. I mean, and you're talking, you have to utilize the internet. You have to become an expert in so many areas of advertising and marketing and being personable and getting creative, in order to actually make a real living doing this. So, of course, the dream is to let me get a TV show, right? Then I can make money doing this. A lot of people you see on TV still have a day job. Tobias, you still have a day job, right? You've been on TV.
Oh yeah. Here's the deal. If you see somebody on some kind of reality television show, and in the credits, they don't have executive producer in front of their name, they're not making nearly enough fucking money to quit their day job. That's the reality of it. Right. So no, just being on TV and doing nothing else, is never, shouldn't say never, very unlikely to make you enough money for you to just magically quit your day job, which is hilarious because so many people have that misconception.
They do.
Where they're like, oh, I'm finally going to be on TV. Well, that's it. I've made it. Where's my check? Where is this when the money starts rolling in? Can I quit my day job now? And it's just not how any of this works.
No.
The reality of the situation here is also that you are so fucking replaceable, so replaceable.
Oh yeah.
Like if you don't want to do it for dirt cheap, who gives a shit? Somebody will. It doesn't fucking matter. Nobody in this field is so famous that they can't just get the next person up to do it instead.
Because even look at Lauren Coleman, right? Lauren Coleman has a day job. He runs a museum. That's his job.
Well, before he retired, he was a social worker.
Right. He had a regular job. Right.
Yes, he did.
And so, he finally reached the point in his life eventually where now this is his day job. And
all it took was retiring.
That's it. Yeah. That's all it took. And when you look at there's other museums around the country, around the world, that have similar premises, but go fucking talk to those people. Go see the blood, sweat, and tears that they've put into even getting to that point, and then go ask how much money they're bringing home anyway. It's not a lot.
Right.
Who the hell's going and visiting a paranormal museum every fucking day? Go to the Mothman Museum. Go there. Don't go during the festival. Oh no, don't fucking fool yourself. Just go on a Monday. I don't even think they're open.
Yeah, right.
These people, there's a reason why they have 4 shops there, it's not just the museum.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, very, very much so.
Right.
If you want to be the next Zach Baggins,
yeah,
then you literally, again, and I cannot stress this enough, you have to start a production company. You have to.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you're going to make enough money through television productions is if you actually are the executive producer of a production company that you have a real financial stake in. And so you get actual real fucking royalties and dividends and shit from the television shows that you're making. You have to be the boss in order to get paid.
And you don't just wake up and start it. It takes years and years and years of building and putting so much into it and getting fucking nothing back. And then eventually someday you kind of start getting those returns, but it takes a long time. It's not easy. And not just that. Look at Zach Baggins. If you want to be the next, I'm sorry, Zach Bagans. That's what he says.
I don't watch him. I don't know.
I watched that Demon House documentary. I learned how to say his name. Bagans. Nice. Everybody says Baggins. It's fine. But take a look at that guy. You really want to be that fucking guy? The only people that really like him are people that are in it for the entertainment. The serious researchers, I'm not saying like disliking him as a person, but like
Yeah,
as far as
I
his
don't know the
research
guy. I got no
goes,
problem with him.
right. I mean, he can come on the show. I'd love to have him on the show. I think that'd be
Sure.
a lot of fun. I'd like to talk about his blindness and his demon house. But really, what's he doing? What kind of research is he conducting? Like, how is he furthering the paranormal community? Um, well, he's not. And,
Right.
you know, I, I think maybe some people would argue otherwise, but, let's be real. There's not been any groundbreaking paranormal discoveries in the last ever. Um, you know,
In the last history of paranormal investigation.
right. There's just never been anything big, so what is he, what is he doing? And how could you get to that point? Well, you have to play the game, and that game means selling out. It means selling your dignity. It means going against the grain of your research and everything that you learn in order to appear interesting to people, because people don't want to watch an investigation where fucking nothing happens. And you know how many times fucking nothing happens on an investigation?
Like almost all of them.
Almost all of them, yeah. I'd say about I say 98%. That's what I say. 98% of these are nothing happens.
Right.
But it is truly the 2% that's worth going through the 98%. It is. And so yeah, I mean, just take a look at that. Look at the people you're seeing on TV, the position that you want. Again, they're not really doing anything. They're not really, and they fake it. It's fake,
They
guys. I
have to.
hate that.
They have to
They
fake
do. They
it
have to. Yeah.
because otherwise they wouldn't have a show. Like the
Right.
network demands that there is a certain narrative, and that narrative has to be compelling, and not finding demons or ghosts or whatever is not fucking compelling. So you got to find something. And if there's nothing there, which let's face it, of course there fucking isn't most of the time, then you got to make there be something. You have to just decide that there is,
Yeah.
and just go with it. And so a lot of the stuff is set up. A lot of it is if not scripted per se, is deliberate and contrived, because they don't always just like hand out a script, but it'll definitely be like a director going like, okay, now pretend like you heard something, like literally shit like that. So yeah, like if that's what you're into, cool. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think that as much as it causes or inspires people to be interested in these phenomena, it in equal amounts confuses the issues around paranormal phenomena.
Yeah.
And so I think that it at best probably breaks even in terms of the good it does versus the harm it does overall.
I agree.
So probably a wash.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with these shows. I mean, there is in the form of facts, um, but in the form of what they do for people. A lot of people get into this stuff because they watched In Search of, or maybe they watched Ghost Adventures, whatever it is. Pick your fucking poison. People get into these topics because of that exposure to media, and then the people that are serious about it are going to eventually have the curtain fall and or realize what's going on, or the curtain pulled back rather, and realize what's going on.
Yeah.
And then the people that just want to be entertained by it are just going to continue to be entertained by it. So it's not that it's inherently bad. I talk shit about them a lot, but I'm standing too close to the topic. That's
Oh,
my problem.
it's annoying for people like us.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is. I don't watch them. Every once in a great while I will, but for the most part I don't. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't listen to other people's podcasts. I don't know. I'm a piece of shit. I don't know. It's
I
sorry,
almost
guys.
never do either, so you shouldn't feel bad.
I try there, and but that's another problem to it, is that this is such an oversaturated market for such a small audience.
Right.
And it's not that like other podcasters are bad. They're not. Some are, sure, but there are some really awesome fucking podcasts out there that's better than this show. And but there's just so much of it. Like I don't have time to sit around and listen to other podcasts. I'm busy making my own, right? So that I can quit my day job and,
Right.
one day have a big pod. And you always think that was kind of the point I was making about TV. You always think, okay, well, that's fake. I can change it. I can be the change, right? I can, bring in a new era where we actually, look at facts. We look at honest and open research and investigation, and we actually put that in the public eye. And I'm not saying that it's impossible, because let me tell you, if I did not have that shred of hope that I could potentially change this a little bit, I wouldn't still do it. But it's pretty improbable. It's been this way for so long, and there's such a small number of people that are genuinely interested in the research and actually want to get that out. There's so many people that just want to do it because it looks cool, because it sounds cool, because it's
Right.
entertaining.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, if you try to make your honest reality television show, nobody's going to watch it.
Nobody's gonna watch it, right?
And there's going to be, for every one of you, there's going to be a dozen, 2 dozen fucking people who don't care at all and are willing to fake fucking everything. And so you don't have a shot. You don't have any chance. The
Yeah.
one thing I will say is there are still good documentary style shows. Unsolved Mysteries is good. Watch some Small Town Monsters documentaries. So I think that there's value in documentaries.
Absolutely.
And I don't want people to confuse those with reality television, because they're not the same thing.
Right. And that is it's a very thin line between the two. It can be, especially if you are newer, especially if you haven't, if you don't live, breathe, and fucking sleep this stuff,
Right.
And it's totally fine. It's totally fine if you don't know. I'll have listeners that will ask me questions about my opinions about different shows, about different things. And, I'll answer honestly. I'll take suggestions from you guys if you have something that I should watch, that I should listen to, that I should read. I trust your judgment. You like this show, so you must have good taste, so.
Yeah. Right.
I can't promise I'll get to them right away. But I will honestly try to, give it a go, because there is good content out there. It's not all bullshit.
Sure.
Just that if you look at the larger people that are actually making money with numbers, people paying attention, most of them are. But that's why stuff like Small Town Monsters was a big fucking deal, because it was kind
Yeah.
of finally the first, first of its kind, really, that was, doing real investigations, real documentaries into this stuff. And I think it's important for us to, give some credit there for sure. Unsolved Mysteries is good, but like, there's a reason why they haven't been around in, like, I don't know, 20 years, right? And they just came back. It's just that this stuff doesn't happen all the time like you think it does, and you don't have all these
Right.
people willing to talk about it all the time either. So that's a problem. So
Yeah,
anyway,
for sure. No, those are all good points. But while there is a lot of good content out there, like you said, I don't spend a lot of time on this stuff
yeah,
outside of work. And people are surprised to hear that, I think.
I agree.
But yeah, like when it comes to I don't know, reading books on the paranormal or watching documentaries, for the most part, that's usually reserved for me researching a specific topic, because otherwise, like, look, I'm watching sword and sorcery movies from the 80s. I'm watching trashy horror movies from all fucking eras. I'm reading horror and sci-fi and fantasy or
And going to
comic
horse
books,
horse festival, so
or going to fucking Midwest Horse Fair. It's true. All this other stuff, watching fucking sitcoms, whatever. Whatever, going to the gun range, just doing all of this other stuff. Watching fucking football. I'm a big Chicago Bears fan. Like, which gets to my point, right? Where if you want to get into this, you can't make this your whole fucking personality.
you
You
can't. Yeah,
cannot. You
yeah,
have to have other shit you're into. So, step one, make sure you're getting into this for the right reasons.
yeah,
Step two, have other shit in your life.
yeah.
A significant other, if that works for you. Fucking, I don't know, join a church or a club. Have extracurricular activities that do not involve the paranormal. Have other interests. Have other fucking movies or books or whatever that you also enjoy. Other activities. Because if you make this your whole personality, one, you'll be boring as shit. And
Yeah.
two, you are going to burn out because the chances of this working out for you the way that you want it to are so fucking slim that if you invest everything you have into just this one aspect of your life and you make it your whole personality, you're going to reach a point where it hasn't worked out and it's not gonna, and you know that, and you are gonna fucking lose your mind.
Yeah.
So just don't do it.
Yeah, it is definitely it's a job, right? It's a fun job. It's a fulfilling job. It's an interesting job. Other people think it's cool, I guess. But it's still a job at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter, what that job is. It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. It's still work.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that a lot. Just like I was talking to somebody, telling them how like video games, that's like my one hobby that I have that I haven't turned into work somehow. Because I myself am a workaholic and that's what I do all the time. And I'm trying not to do that as much. I'm trying to separate and have things that I can have. Well, that's one thing that I can have. Whereas like other people will be like, well, I'd love to get paid to sit around and play video games all day. You say that, right?
Yeah.
You say that until you do it. It sounds great. But then like when you're fucking 12 hours on a Twitch stream, and you got people yelling at you because you're not good, get good, loser, it fucks with you.
Oh,
It does.
why I haven't written a tabletop role playing game book yet, because I've already monetized one of my passions, and
Right.
that's weird shit. That's the paranormal. I don't want to monetize the rest of them because I
Right.
still want to enjoy them,
Yeah.
which is another thing people need to know before they get into investigation is once anything becomes work, even if you fucking love it, it's like you said, Asher's, it's still fucking work.
Yeah.
And work is never as fun as not work.
Right. Right. It's just something happens in your brain. Your brain knows. You can't trick it. It knows that you're doing work. And it ain't having none of it, right? It's like, oh fuck that.
Right.
So yeah, definitely just keep that in mind. Is it great? Would I trade it for the world? I don't know. It depends on what that world is. I'm just kidding. I genuinely do like it. Obviously, I wouldn't still do it if I didn't. Especially considering again the pay rate, you know.
Oh yeah.
But
For
um,
$1 million, I would never work in the paranormal again. Just $1 million. That's it. You'd never even hear from me.
yeah,
I'd pay off my debt. I'd still continue like working and living a normal life probably. But like I think that's my price. So anybody out there, any men in black want to shut me up, cool, $1 million. That's all it
that's pretty.
takes.
That's I
Tax
mean,
free.
$1 million. Real, it's not that much either. So I
It's
mean,
not as much as it's not as much as people think.
right. So I mean, that's a pretty good price.
Yeah, that's a steal. That is a bargain. To get
So
me to shut up? Yeah.
if Tobias disappears, it's because he was paid off by the Men in Black.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the assumption. But yeah, I mean,
I'm kidding. Of
well,
course.
everything's got a price,
Yeah.
for sure. That's I don't know if I do it for a million, but I'm also younger. I guess I still have more life to me, so I'd probably
Wow. Ouch.
it's well, I mean, like you think about that, like how much money do I need to comfortably live out the rest of my life? I'll probably do it for 500 million. And that's still not
500 million.
yeah,
Okay.
500
What
million.
realistically is anybody ever going to offer me the money? No. Also, realistically, if somebody was like, "Hey, I'll give you $1 million to never be involved in the paranormal again," okay, I would either say, "Well, fuck you, I'm on to something." If if you are willing to give me this money, or at least that would be where the negotiating would begin.
If they
You
start at
know,
a million, you're like, what
right?
about 250?
Yeah. How about? Well, my pal Asher said she'd do it for 500 million, and I think that number is a little more reasonable.
Yeah, and she was offered that, so
Yeah. So I mean, it just seems fair. No, I mean honestly, like this isn't. It's funny that we are even talking about money because if money is what you care about, this is the last fucking thing you should
yeah,
be doing with your time
don't
because
get into
it's
this.
just not worth it.
No.
If what you're trying to do is make money,
Yeah.
if what you want is to investigate something you're passionate about, great. This is fulfilling in ways I never thought imaginable when I started, but
So,
it doesn't make a lot of money.
I mean, no, not at all. It's just not. And I'll tell you, I had a like an identity crisis in the beginning of me getting into all this. Like I had some type of fucking ego death, just generally in my whole life. Um, but with these topics in general, was it worth me going down? Because now, people know who I am, and I don't mean that like, oh, I'm super popular in this field. I mean like, if I go and I apply for a job, for a regular job, and they fucking just so happen to go Google my name,
Right.
what's the first thing that pops up? It's this show,
Yeah.
And if they listen to it, oh fuck, you kind of do put a little bit, again, that reputation thing. You kind of put your reputation at stake to do this, which it's never come up. I mean, it's never stopped me. It's put me in some pretty awkward situations, but it's never stopped me from doing anything like so
Right.
far. But it could, I don't know. I've applied for jobs since I've started doing this, at other companies, and maybe I didn't get those jobs because of this. I don't know. Um,
That's a good point. If you Google my name, it's literally nothing but this.
right.
It's just all weird shit. It'll be like my books, and then I don't know, like maybe some podcast appearances, IMDb page, and it's all weird as fuck. So
Yeah,
it
it,
just
it
is what it
is.
is.
Yeah, and so I mean, that's just part of it. Um, but anyway, so when I first got into it, I didn't get into this on purpose. And my story is not the same as other people's stories. I got into it because I had weird experiences, and I knew that there had to be other people out there that were like me that had these experiences. I never heard of the types of things that I was experiencing before. And I thought that it was important to share that with other people. I thought it was important to share it with people that have never had experiences, and kind of shed a light onto this stuff. And of course, my goals have changed, since I've started, not by much. But I do see things a little bit differently now that I know that I'm not the only one experiencing things. Because other people are
Yeah.
too. Okay, so now how can I translate that into normal people that have it? How can I educate others? How can I do something that will further this field more? I would like to leave it better than I entered it in, and I think we all feel that way, and that's a big goal. But it's one I'm willing to take on. I think it's a worthy endeavor.
Oh,
Now,
sure.
you know, getting into it, there is no like field handbook, right? I wasn't like I wasn't able to take a class on cryptozoology or ufology, or I think they're out there now. People do like online workshops.
No,
uh,
I know they do.
I've considered doing them myself, honestly. I just that's another thing to do. It's more
Yeah,
work.
right.
But I didn't. There wasn't like here's your guide. This is what you do. So definitely take this information, and run with it, because you've got two people telling you, which is not really a show I could have done with Pato previously. No offense to him, but we both do it, so now I feel a little less pressure.
Sure.
So what does that look like? What do you start doing? You got into this, Tobias, because of ufology, is that right?
Well, I got into it because of a lifetime of weird fucking shit happening to me.
Okay.
Um, since I was a little kid, and when I was very young, when I was old enough to read, I started going to the library, and that's where I found books by John Keel or Lauren Coleman or Brad Steiger or Rosemary Ellen Guiley or Willie Strieber or any of these other luminaries in the paranormal field, right? And that's when I discovered that there were other people who were experiencing things similar to what I had been experiencing, and that ultimately led me on the road to wanting to do this, because it was a very isolating experience, especially as a child, but
Mhm.
really for the entirety of my life, because I never really had anybody to talk to about this kind of stuff, because it wasn't normal, and it wasn't something that like a lot of people took seriously, because it's not like I could prove it. And so even if somebody was really well intentioned and they didn't just laugh at me outright, then they would always come back with some prosaic explanation that I knew to be false, but there's no way to convince them. And so there's just no point in talking about it. And so reading these books made me feel like I wasn't alone, because there were these other people out there experiencing the same thing,
Right.
and talking about it. And then there were these people investigating it and writing these books and letting these people's stories be told, and giving them this catharsis of being taken seriously. And so when I went back to school, because I went back to college kind of late, I was in my late 20s. I was kind of searching around for what I wanted to do, and I ultimately landed on writing, like on English. Like I knew that I was interested in stories. I'd always been a fan of fantasy and sci-fi and horror and all of that stuff too. Although I also knew that I wasn't super interested in writing fiction, and it occurred to me that I wanted to do this. Like I wanted to write books that helped people in the same way that I had been helped. I wanted to talk to people who had experienced weird shit, just like I had experienced weird shit. And I wanted to record their stories, and I wanted people to take them fucking seriously, because
Yeah.
that's what they deserve. And that's why I got into this. And I started before I even went back to school. I started, or actually, no, it would have been around the same time. I started as a Mutual UFO Network field investigator, because at that time, like, Ghost Hunters was just taking off, basically. Like it was, or it was really hitting its stride, I should say. Like it was pretty popular, right? And so this was like the late aughts, and so I went online like people did, and I wanted to find some way that I could investigate this stuff. And there wasn't like some ghost hunting organization or anything to sign up for. Although, admittedly, I really wasn't all that interested in ghosts. And please do reach out to me if you've seen a ghost, but I'm still not super interested in ghosts. Like
Same.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just from my own investigatory standpoint, because I think that they are just really overcovered. And I think that a lot of, and I don't want to digress too much, but I think that a lot of the so-called work and discoveries that have been made about ghosts are fucking bullshit, and they aren't real. And so while I do think that there is a root phenomenon there, I don't think it's necessarily what people think that it is,
Yeah.
based on all of the pseudoscientific nonsense that's been used to investigate it.
Mhm.
But anyway, what I did end up finding was the Mutual UFO Network. And anybody can volunteer to investigate with them. And so I signed up to be a field investigator, and I started investigating UFO sightings. And that's literally how I got started. And I did that for like a couple of years until I got to a point where look, I'm not the joining type, like I was a fucking like goth and punk kid. I'm not good with authority. I don't like being told what to do. I don't follow rules that aren't explained to me. Like I won't just follow a rule because it's the rule. I need to know why it's the rule. And so there were some things that I really, I butted up against in MUFON. There were just some things that just really chafed. And so I was like, well, fuck this. I think I've learned everything that I'm going to. And, from here, at least, I never stop learning. None of us should our entire lives. But at least so far as being a part of MUFON and a field investigator, I felt like, I'd done everything that I needed to do, learned everything I needed to learn at that point. And I set out on my own, and then here I am today.
And now you host a podcast.
It's true. Yeah. Now I've written 3 books, working on a 4th. Got a
Yep.
couple of documentary and TV appearances under my my belt, and yeah, I'm on this awesome podcast.
I'm not here every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, I won't go on the MUFON train. I'll stay off of it. Um,
Yeah,
but,
I mean, we could sit here and turn this into a whole show about fucking ragging on MUFON, but
yeah,
I don't really want to. And I
yeah,
have friends of mine that are still associated with MUFON, and so I'm not going to come out publicly and talk a bunch of shit about them. I will say that they need to get their house in order in terms of cleaning out all the fucking
yes.
racists and shitty people. But
Yeah, there we
you
go.
know,
We'll leave it at that. I don't think it's a bad start. I'll tell you that. I don't think that it's because they do have like a handbook, don't they? Like,
I still have it. Yeah,
yeah.
there is a whole field investigation manual. It's an enormous 3-ring binder, actually.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. It's on my bookshelf. I don't want to get up and go get it, but it's
Is it pretty
enormous.
solid? I mean,
It
as
is.
far as
It is.
investing.
It's comprehensive, because one thing that MUFON took very seriously was a sort of scientific investigation. And so it goes over like how to investigate a supposed UFO landing site with like a Geiger counter and all of this other
Gotcha.
stuff.
Okay.
Which
So
is cool.
it's pretty good.
I think that's great. And honestly, if somebody was just starting out, I wouldn't say don't go and volunteer
Right.
with MUFON, because there are way worse ways to be introduced to in investigating, and you'll
Mhm.
learn. Like, you'll definitely learn shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, just, if you're starting out, attaching yourself to an organization or even a mentor, getting a mentor, I think would be fucking invaluable, but that's hard to do, right? I
yeah,
mean, if somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, can you be my mentor?" Like, I'll do what I can to help, but like, I can't be on call for
I'll
you.
talk to you like twice a year, basically, is what it would come down to. That's
You
how
get,
often I'm available for mentor. Like,
you get,
that's just the kind of person I am.
yeah,
You know, like
right,
I
yeah,
get busy and I don't talk to people for weeks and weeks and weeks. And that
you
doesn't
know,
mean I don't care about them. I do.
right,
I love them and I wish them the best,
yeah.
but I'm not that talk to you every day friend. I'm just
Yeah.
not.
I'm not going to go out of my way to check in on how you're doing. I mean, like, if as a mentorship, checking on how you're doing or anything, you got questions, I'll answer them the best I can. But like after like 3 business days, hopefully,
Yeah.
you send it. We do our best, right? Sometimes, I know certain people who are newer, who have gone to have mentors that are, somebody have done this for a while, and that's what I mean when I say somebody has some type of know-how. If you can fall into that, perfect. But don't expect that. So these organizations, MUFON, the BFRO, whatever your local ghost hunting group is, whatever your flavor, right, of the weird, there's something that you could join to kind of get your feet wet and kind of understand how the sausage is made a little bit, and I don't think that's a bad idea. I kind of took a dig at people doing workshops. That's not a bad idea either. Honestly, it's not. Workshops are valuable. Just make sure that you're doing it with somebody that you trust. You trust their judgment. You trust their research. Research those people a little bit first.
Definitely.
Um,
Yes.
so, depending on what it is that you're getting into, will depend on what an investigation looks like. So, different people, I'm sure you've gotten this question. What kind of equipment do you use? What do you do? What's that process? So, I thought that it might be a good idea to kind of break this up, because that's how I find it to work. Break it up into um, a cryptid expedition versus like a UFO reporter, an abductee, versus paranormal. Do you agree that that would be the best 3 categories to kind of look into this?
You could, and I think that is how a lot of people would do it. And because I'm me, I've got to be the fly in the ointment here, because I don't approach any investigation differently. I don't tailor anything about my investigations necessarily due to their paranormal category, so to speak. My advice for people getting started is you don't need anything. You need, well, that's not true. You need to bring an open mind, and
Yeah.
then probably like a notebook and something to write with. And that's all you really need. at least
Bring
to
your
get
phone.
started.
Your phone is going to be the best tool in the world. Like you almost can't, like there almost isn't anything. I don't care how much money you spend on equipment. There really isn't anything better than just your phone. Like you can do so fucking much with it. You need a flashlight, you got it on your phone. You need to take notes, you got it on your phone. You need to take video, it's on your phone. Everything that you need is right
True.
there. If you're a pen and paper person, bring a pen and paper. It just depends on who you are. When I'm doing an interview with somebody, I don't write it down, but I do. I have a voice recorder. Cost me like
Yes.
$8 on Amazon. It's a USB. I plug it right in my computer, and I record the whole conversation.
I do that too.
And yeah,
It's a lot
record the whole
easier.
conversation, right? And then listen to it later. And like kind of while I'll kind of make mental notes. I've got really bad ADHD and terrible memory issues, but I'll try to like make mental notes, right? Oh, this person was talking about this specific topic. Let me go find that in the audio. Um, and honestly, as much as I like to get together face to face with people, it's not necessary. Doing it just on the phone, calling someone is just as easy, and it makes better audio. If I'm honest with you,
True.
you can pop them on speakerphone, and pop your voice recorder right there beside it. You hear them just fine.
There are a number of apps for smartphones that will just record your phone calls too.
That's true. Yeah, that's
And
true.
the only thing you want to make sure of is if you are in a one party or two party state in terms of permission for recording a phone call. So Wisconsin is a one party state, as far as I know, which means
Mhm.
I can just record every single phone call I'm ever a part of, and I don't have to tell anybody. I usually do because I don't want to I don't want to be a dick,
Yeah,
but you don't always necessarily have to. I think it's best practice, like if you're a decent human being,
I
is to tell
agree.
people that you're recording your conversation.
Yeah, yeah, it's
But
definitely ethical.
yeah, it is something to be aware of.
Right. Well, and if if you make content, that's fine. If you want to spread the word about what you're doing through content creation, that's okay. But you can't just fucking record somebody secretly and put it out there for content. Like
Right.
you're a shitty human being, and you will be found out. I mean, eventually someone's gonna catch on,
Well,
and you don't want that.
our official behind the scenes man in black Nate is telling me that it's two party in Wisconsin if you want to broadcast it, but only one party if
Gotcha.
you're recording for yourself. And I'm always recording for myself because I don't play these conversations anywhere. What I'll
Right.
do is I will record them and then I transcribe them, and then I will write based off of that transcription, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And then whether or not you identify that person kind of comes down to you asking for, guess what? Consent, which is something that we talked about on a personal level that the gray aliens don't abide by. So don't be
They
a
do not.
gray.
No. Enthusiastic consent is important, and another reason not to trust aliens because they don't seem to care about it.
They don't care. Yeah. So don't be a gray. Be a great investigator and ask for consent.
T-shirt idea.
So anyway, talking to witnesses, that's your number one, right? That's where you know where to go. How do you know where to go if nobody's seen anything weird, right? You have to get, the story for not necessarily all the time. You do have kind of high profile areas. I would argue that in cryptozoology, you don't necessarily need an eyewitness account. A specific eyewitness account. I would say that, like, obviously, if this certain area in your area that has a bunch of sightings, like, you would go there, right?
Sure.
But for the most part,
Or a haunted house or a haunted location.
right, that's, like, famously haunted, right? You don't need
Sure.
to talk to people who have had those experiences, you kinda just know. Common
Go
sense, right?
have the experience for yourself. Why not?
Exactly. It just kinda depends on where you're going. So, but of course, again, these witness stories, they are very important. What are you looking for when you go to these places? What kind of are you going out to the woods to look for Bigfoot, or are you looking for Dogman? You
Sure.
gotta know your area a little bit. Do research on these locations. Sit down and try to figure out as much as you can. First of all, can you legally be there?
Yes. And this is important because while you can tailor your equipment to the specific phenomenon you're hoping to investigate, and in some cases you should, and sometimes I do too. The most important thing I think is to tailor your equipment for the environment.
Yes. Yes.
So like Asher said, make sure you can legally be on this fucking property. If it's like a state park or something, you're probably good. Make sure to get a state park sticker, know when the hours that it is open are, and stick to them.
Yeah.
Know the area. Like find a map, at least download a map to your phone, something. So you can, not get fucking lost. That's always nice. Be aware of when you'll be going, like time of year, time of day or night, because you're going to want to bring some basic stuff. Like you should bring a flashlight. You should bring a first aid kit.
Mhm.
You should, of course, have your phone and make sure your phone is charged.
Yeah.
So you can call somebody if you have to. Make sure, speaking of, somebody knows where you're going. Never go by yourself if there's
No,
any
don't.
other
Yeah.
option. Like
Yeah.
never,
Seriously.
ever. Like you got to have at least one friend. It's,
Yeah.
I don't want to make anybody feel bad if they don't have a single friend, but just make a friend who will go with you on stuff like this.
Yeah.
And then, but still make sure people know where you're going. Like, I will, I might make sure to mention to my parents, like, oh, hey, Emily and I are going out hiking in this area coming up this weekend, and it's an excuse to talk to my parents, because I want to talk to them. But two, it's like they know where to start if we go missing,
Yeah.
like
Right.
it's a little morbid, but it is what it is, and you do need to think about it.
It is. It is what it. I mean, that's definitely 100%. Nature is trying to kill you. That is its goal. It hates us, and I don't blame it. We've destroyed it. I get it.
It's
But
fair.
it is out to get you. And just fucking. I mean, and we're not even talking like, oh well, I'm going to this area and there's no bears or cougars, right? There's not. You might get a coyote, but there's they don't fuck with you. Sure. But that doesn't mean that you can't step on the wrong thing going down a hill and then break your fucking neck. Like it happens all the time.
These kettles that we are out hiking by, they don't
Yeah.
seem that deep until you're in one.
Right.
And if somehow you were dicking around, which I have more than once, like climbing down into them or something, and you broke your leg and fell all the way to the bottom of one, nobody's going to see you.
No.
Nobody's going to fucking see you. They
No.
won't see you from the trail. They won't see you from the air.
Yeah.
And if you are too hurt or whatever to be able to yell, or you are yelling somewhere where nobody can hear you, you're going to die down there.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
you need to take it fucking seriously.
Yep.
Because these things do happen,
Yep. It does. And but that I mean, and then you become part of the missing 411 and people think you were abducted by Bigfoot aliens or whatever.
It wasn't a Bigfoot. I just broke my ankle and died.
Right. It's
Just so you know,
totally normal.
everybody, if it ever happens, that's what it was. Don't let
Definitely not.
anybody write a book about me.
You're gonna break your ankle and fall down into one, and here comes fucking Bigfoot, and you're like, holy shit. I'd be so
Right.
mad.
So the other thing that I wanted to mention, speaking of like dangers in the wilderness, and this actually applies to anytime you're out anywhere late. So this could be a haunted house in the middle of the city. Obviously it could be a state park or a national forest or something, whatever. Personal safety. Like I live in a concealed carry state, and I am usually armed when I am on an investigation. And that is not because I think I'm going to have to draw down on a fucking Sasquatch or, some phantom or something. But you could run into a meth head.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, you absolutely could. You could run into any number of sketchy people, which
Right.
you will find out soon enough that between the hours of like 2 and 4 a.m., when you're likely to be leaving a fucking haunted location or something, there's a lot of sketchy fucking people out.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying that people need to carry firearms and stuff. That's only that's a serious decision that you can only make for yourself. And if you do, then I encourage you to take classes and train constantly, and exercise responsibility, because it's not something to be taken lightly. But you don't have to do that. But you do have to be aware of those kinds of dangers, because the most dangerous thing that you're likely to meet on an investigation is not something paranormal. It is a human
Right.
fucking being.
Yeah.
And so you need to be aware. You need to keep your head on a swivel, just like you would after bar time.
Mhm.
Again, don't go alone. Have a friend with you always. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter where.
Yeah, bear mace. Bear mace is relatively cheap. You don't
Sure.
need any training to use it. It will take out a bear. So it should take out a sketchy character,
Yeah.
Not necessarily take it out, but at least give you enough time to get the fuck away.
And the
Um,
threat. Yeah, for
right.
sure.
And so, I mean, that's not as big of a commitment as a gun. If you can have guns, if you will feel that you are somebody who can go that route, of course. But if you're not, bear mace works. Um, that is definitely, one misconception about like the TNT area in Point Pleasant, is that you can just go there. You can't fucking just go there. You can, like physically, you can. Most of it is private property,
Mm.
and people that own those properties use them to hunt. Like there are people out there who are hunting animals on their property while you are out there admiring the concrete bunkers and sacrificing yourself sexually to Mothman. Um, that's what I do. I don't know what you guys do out there, but anyway,
I'm not here to judge.
but while I'm out there with no clothes on, begging for it, I do wear a reflective vest, because again, these people don't know. They are out there to hunt. They can absolutely mistake you for an animal. So it's not even that they are like trying to hurt you. It's just
Right.
that shit happens to a lot. Remember, it happened to Dick Cheney. He got shot in the face.
I don't even go out like during hunting season. I usually find something else to do rather
Yeah.
than go out into the woods looking for high strangeness or something.
Well, and that's why it's smart to know before you go. When do you? I mean, do you know when hunting season is? You have to know this stuff.
Yes.
Um,
People should be aware of it.
right, and that's why doing your research before you get anywhere is super important. But if you're going to go out during hunting season, just again, reflective vest, super cheap on Amazon. You can get a whole pack of them for like $20. Keep it in your car.
Oh,
It's
totally.
so easy. Not a bad idea. Now, granted, that also means that you'll probably be spotted by Bigfoot from 10,000 miles away. But he's also an interdimensional extraterrestrial, so he probably already knows that you're there.
Yeah, Bigfoot has clocked you using telepathy way
Right.
before anybody can see your fucking vest. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, he can smell your stench. At minimum, he probably can.
I
So
would imagine, yeah.
But anyway, just a very small thing that you can do. Safety is number one. That's I think what we're getting at here, is that you have to be safe. You have to look out for you, because there's so many things that aren't Bigfoot, that aren't aliens, that aren't ghosts, that will hurt you.
Yes.
And we don't want that to happen. You can't share your stories with people if you die. That's
True.
that's a fact.
I mean, this is a big one with ghosts too, because that overlaps with like urban exploration, which
Yes.
is super dangerous,
Yeah.
because if you go into a condemned building, they're condemned for a reason.
Right.
And if you fall through the floor, you could die.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you're only going to break your leg or your ankle or something.
Yeah.
But you could just as easily die. So, nobody's going to fucking listen to me when I tell them not to do that stuff. They're going to go do it anyway. But again, at the bare minimum, at least when you fall through the floor, somebody else should be there to know that happened.
Right. Yeah. I mean, then maybe you just have a broken arm and not you starve to death,
Right. And ideally you have permission to be in any building that you're
Yes.
in. And that's my official stance, is don't fucking go into places if you don't have fucking permission to be there. You're not cool. You're not clever. You're just an asshole.
Yeah.
So don't fucking do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I know it's tempting. I get it. And I know there's sometimes some gray areas, you think. But at the end of the day, if you're not somewhere, if you're somewhere where you're allowed to be, like the danger level, like significantly reduces.
Yeah.
So just, keep that in mind. Urban exploration is an issue. Ticks are a problem, a big problem.
Yes. Bring spray.
And mosquitoes. Yeah. Bring spray with you. Make sure that you're dressed appropriately. Even though it might seem like a good idea, I don't usually investigate when it's high summer. because it's fucking hot and gross outside. Usually I go in the spring and the fall.
Well, ticks are worse. Like they are the worst in spring and fall.
They are, yeah. But you can wear pants, right, and be comfortable still.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I guess.
But yeah, absolutely. We always spray for ticks. I have found ticks on me anyway.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. Well, you know what happened? This was fucking dumb. It was on a hike and I had just mentioned how like, boy, I've just never really had any ticks on me. And which is the last fucking thing I should have said. And we go on this hike and I set my backpack on the ground. And for just a second to like rifle through it, and I think I was looking for a spirit box or something. And then I put it back, I put it back on. And then later that night, Emily and I are going to bed and there were a couple ticks like in the small of my back, like right near my waist, because they had hitchhiked up from me putting my backpack on the fucking ground. And then they found this nice open area underneath my shirt once they had, crawled off of the backpack. So you just have to always be aware of that stuff. And my mistake was in first of all, like mistake number one was I shouldn't have set my backpack on the ground. But beyond that, I didn't spray the area underneath my shirt or like on my shirt. And I should have, because any part of you where a tick could potentially get in is an area that you should spray. And I just didn't even think about it. So let my mistake work for you and make sure to spray literally any area of your body that a tick could get to exposed flesh.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard other like people that spend a lot of time in the woods, other investigators that are like, oh, well, if you get Lyme disease, like it's just a given that you're going to get Lyme disease. I disagree with you. You don't have to get Lyme disease to go out in the woods. Like that's not a necessary, like there's things that you could do to prevent that.
Oh, no. Yeah. Lyme disease is relatively rare. It's really... I mean, not all ticks carry it even.
Right.
Like deer ticks, of course, are the ones that come to mind straight away. I think there are other kinds, but yeah. And I don't think I've ever had a deer tick on me, but even then, it's relatively easy to spot. So if you see that like bullseye around like a tick bite or something, then go to the doctor.
Right, immediately, but but again, it's also easy enough to just take basic precautions, spray yourself down, learn a little bit about ticks, before, before going out in the woods. I mean, and just mosquitoes. I mean, first of all, nobody wants to get eaten up by mosquitoes. It's not fun. It's itchy. It doesn't feel good. And they have West Nile virus, and I don't want that either. So
you want to hear a funny story about me and mosquitoes? So, It's not so much a story as like a reason a lot of people just don't like me is okay. No, it's true. Like, I mean, even Emily is irritated about this true science fact, like regarding our very own Tobias Wayland. I'm not allergic to mosquitoes. The reason that mosquito bites itch for most people is that they are allergic to the anticoagulant enzyme that mosquitoes introduce to your body to make your blood easier to drink, right? I'm not allergic to that. So mosquito bites don't itch. Like they do not itch for me. I don't even notice. I don't like having bugs on me, so I try to discourage it, but I don't react to mosquito bites. Like I don't get bumps or any itching or anything like that. So
this is a pre-recorded show, and I can hear the whole audience going, "That asshole."
I know. Now everybody else can resent me for that as well. Perfect.
We do. Yeah, fuck you, man. No,
totally fair.
I'm happy for you. I'll say that much because they fucking love me. Being a diabetic, I have very sweet, delicious, sugary blood. I'm a dessert for these mosquitoes, and man, they fucking eat me alive. So yeah, I'm a target, unfortunately. So, but like I said, good for you. I'm happy for you. I won't be that asshole and say you suck, but I'm thinking it anyway.
Right. So the trick to mosquitoes is just to be born not being allergic to that anticoagulant. So just go ahead and do that before you head out into the forest. Should be fine. Wouldn't worry about it.
That's a good tip.
Because they bite me just as much as they bite anybody. I just don't know.
Yeah, what well, then how do you know they bite you? You
Because I
see
see them
them?
on me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. All right. You just don't. It just doesn't.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
try to shoo them away because I still don't like bugs on me. Like that's
I think
no,
that's
like
normal.
who likes bugs on them, really?
Some people, some people out there do. But
That's true. Like that guy with the beard and it's just bees.
you think he likes having the bees on his
Well,
face?
he made a beard out of bees on purpose.
He's gotta like it
He has to like it. Why would you do that on purpose if you hated it?
because you're edgy.
I guess. Well, whatever. So that edgy guy with the beard bees
He
or
likes the
bee
attention.
beard.
Yeah. There's the I'm not even gonna say what I'm thinking. You guys will hear it on the when we cover internet mysteries, but there's a girl out there who likes bugs in
Oh,
her
there's
body.
always a weird sex thing.
Always.
Sure. As soon as I said it, I was like, yeah, there's somebody who's into fucking being naked with bugs on them. Of
Someone's
course
gonna
there
write
is.
into us and be like, I'm that person.
Well, good for you. I'm glad that you found what you like. You had that journey of self-discovery, and now you are brave enough to continue that exploration and enjoy your life. Kudos.
Is it zoophilia if it's bugs? I'm not
I
having
don't
this
know.
conversation. That's
Maybe. Yeah, that has nothing to do with investigation. We need
no, it doesn't.
let's get back on track here.
So when you go out, when you physically go out, of course, you're not out there just for shits and giggles. Well, mostly you are, but you're out there to try to collect some type of evidence, right?
Ideally.
Ideally. So, like I said, your phone is going to be your best friend, but you can't use your phone for literally everything. They die, right? I mean, you could bring a backup battery. You could bring 4, and that might
Yeah.
last you the whole day.
I've got a pretty nice portable charger that you charge it up at your home outlet,
Yeah.
and then literally I've taken this on camping trips and it'll last, it'll charge your phone every night for days.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, invest in one of those if you can. When you can.
They're not that expensive. It's less than $100.
Definitely. That's worth it just to have. I mean, phone batteries, once you get a new phone, that's the first thing to go downhill, right? Is your phone battery. I think we all suffer from that. But
Oh yeah, this thing, it's got you charge it up in a wall outlet and then it's got solar panels on it. And the solar panels aren't so good that you could charge it just on those. At least it would, not very quickly, but it does help prolong the charge of this power brick, So
yeah.
But
you can't take an audio file. Well, you could take a video, right, which takes your audio and a video, and also use your flashlight and also use your notes at the same time, right?
Sure.
So if you're just using your phone, it's not bad to start with, but eventually you kind of want to have a little kit. It's not bad to invest in a secondary camera. Cameras are relatively cheap. You don't need a fancy DSLR.
I have a body cam that I wear.
Great idea.
It works great. Some people who are into this because they want to fucking film a television show will snicker and be like, oh, it's body cam. Okay, great. And it's like, well, this body cam is hands-free and I'm just wearing it around. And I don't give a fuck about putting this on YouTube because I'm not an asshole. And so it's great. It's got fucking night vision and everything on it. And, it's got a decent range out to, God, I don't remember. I want to say 10 or 20 yards at least. And so that's usually good enough to capture whatever I'm facing anyway, if I were to see something.
Right.
And stuff has been captured on body cams during investigations I've been a part of. My friend Jay, we were out in the kettle and he got a really cool anomalous light on his body cam. And if you were just lugging around some super expensive fucking camera, like some dipshit Hollywood loser or whatever, you would have fucking missed it because you probably wouldn't have been recording at that moment because you can't walk around and record like that.
Right.
You have to set down, you have to set everything down and set it up. So a body cam is perfect for real investigation when you are moving around and you need to be able to pay attention to your environment. And you're not on a fucking sound stage. It's not a movie fucking studio. So you need your other senses because you're there to investigate, not to film a TV show.
Right.
right?
Absolutely. With the body cam, you put it on, you make sure it's on, and that's it. You forget
Yeah, it
about it.
records everything you see, basically.
And then when it ultimately dies and you need to recharge it, that's when something weird will happen. I promise you. So that's why
They
it's
last
important.
forever. You'd have to be out there for a way like longer than I've ever been out there for it to die.
Well,
Because it's
some
oh
of the
god.
phenomena that happens drains the battery of your electronics.
I've never had that happen.
Really?
No, well, we've had some interesting stuff with electrical equipment before, or I should say with electronic equipment before. Like there was an instance where um, Emily had the batteries out of her flash and the flash kept going off, which was that was real fucking weird.
Yeah.
So there was some kind of bizarre phenomenon was making the flash for her camera with no batteries in it. So this should have been impossible. Go off like repeatedly. Like that was bizarre.
Yeah.
And we had a case where um, we were recording some video on a tour at this haunted theater, and we just like lost video for a little while, like just in this specific area where they're talking about where this gray lady is normally seen. And then like our video just cuts out and then starts again as soon as we leave that fucking area. So that was weird. And we've had some other odd like audio stuff that's happened with just like weird audio like interference and stuff, just but again just in specific areas. So yeah, I mean maybe something paranormal going on there. But yeah, like the old, because that's a thing, that's a trope,
It is.
like your batteries being drained. I've never seen it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's never happened to me.
Well, yeah, we've definitely had it happen.
Oh, okay.
It just depends on what it is. Like my handheld video cam. I take too much stuff with me. I'll be honest with you. Um,
No, that's. I mean, we take a lot of stuff
um,
too. Emily already like always has her fancy camera on her because
yeah,
she's a photographer, so of
right.
course she
It's
does.
not necessary, but yeah, I'll take my handheld camera. We take the fucking knockoff GoPro, with everybody's phones. But my handheld camera has been drained of battery. So that has happened. And the whole point of it was we were actually like we were filming for the Mothman documentary, and we were down in TNT area. And one thing that I do, and not everybody does, is I do utilize like tools of divination and in my research. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if I'm out looking for Bigfoot, which
Yeah,
I believe is flesh and blood. It doesn't matter what it is.
same.
Um, I will use those because you never know, right?
Yeah, it applies to everything.
Right. So we were going to go out there and try to the TNT area and try to communicate with something. And we set everything up. And, of course, I mean, the battery's charged. And not just that, my handheld camera has a backup battery that I bring also. It's also charged every time I go.
Yeah,
And we get out there, we set it up, put it on the tripod, and it won't turn on. And I'm like, fuck, what's going on? And then I put the other battery in it, same thing. It wouldn't. They were both completely dead. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But then people like strangers like came walking up to the area we were set up at. It was just a weird day. Like everything told us not to do what we were about to do that day. It was so weird.
hmm.
And a lot of the times in these investigations, like that's the experience that you have is something that is not necessarily significant to the audience, but it is significant to you. So keep that in mind. You probably will experience something weird eventually along the line. Not every time. We mentioned that already. But just because you experience something weird doesn't mean that everybody's going to get all excited for your weird thing. Because Tobias, you told me one time about we were talking about synchronicity, and you describe it as it's like explaining a dream to somebody, and it is.
Yeah, like nobody
Um,
wants to hear about your fucking dreams. I'm sorry, even if
right.
you think it's a really cool dream, nobody wants to hear about your dream.
Right. They
It means
just can't
nothing to
relate
them.
to it. They
Of
weren't there,
course,
you
it's too
know.
personal.
It is. And so in my experience, that's what I experience most often as far as phenomena out here on investigations. And does it
Right.
matter to all of you guys? Not if you don't have the entire piece of the puzzle, and you don't, not unless you're there living the story with me. It doesn't matter to you guys. But it matters to me in the moment. And that's kind of the point. So anyway, expect that to happen often. It does make you feel silly sometimes. It makes you feel crazy, because something that you deem significant happen to you, but then everybody else is like, oh, that's cool. It's not
Pretty
great.
much.
But yeah, cameras definitely, if you can film every single second, film every single second. In my personal experience, it's always when the cameras are stopped. Maybe that's coincidence. Maybe it's just a fun joke. The phenomena plays. I don't know what the deal is there. Or again, it's more of a feeling type of it's more of an intuitive situation that doesn't translate onto a camera anyway. Um, but have a
I th-
means to collect physical evidence.
sure.
That's also very important, especially when you're out looking for something like an animal. Have a little toolkit. Don't bother with gloves. Just have yourself a big old gallon Ziploc bag, right? Bring some plaster of Paris. Again, very cheap to invest into. You can carry it with you. That way, if you find like tracks or something, even if it's not even like Bigfoot, like it's still pretty fucking cool to get like animal tracks. Like I don't know, I think it's neat.
It is neat.
Um, it is. It's really neat. But if it is like a Bigfoot track, bring yourself a little. Don't bring gloves. Bring a little tweezers. And your gallon bag. Try to collect things kind of around you. I can't tell you where you can send those things off to if you think you got Bigfoot hair. Good luck finding a lab that will test it. But if you collect it correctly and you can keep it and preserve it long enough, eventually that opportunity might arise. So still collect it anyway. Fuck
I
yeah.
think it's more a matter of having the money to pay a lab to
Yes.
do it.
It is. Yeah.
Because
It
they're not
is.
going to volunteer to do it, but
No.
anybody with the money can pay a lab to analyze a sample. We carry, Emily has this little kit, and it's got a bunch of like test tubes with stoppers in it, and tweezers,
Good idea.
and
Yep.
magnifying glass, all of the stuff that you may never use, but you'll want it if you need it. And so that could be used to collect hair samples or anything like that you might actually find. The only time we've only found one track, and it was in ice. And so there was no chance of like
Gotcha.
making any molding of it, which was good because I generally don't carry the stuff to do that with me.
Right.
Although maybe I should. But yeah, that's
Well,
the
it
kind of
takes
thing.
about an hour to cure, so like be prepared to sit there while it dries.
Right. I was gonna say, like, it always seemed really time consuming and involved to me, to the point
Yeah.
where, like, if it ever comes up, what I would be much likelier to do would be to just mark the spot and then come back and do it. Although, maybe I'm running a risk of the evidence becoming contaminated before I can get back. Who knows?
Sure.
But that's generally just where I'm at with it.
And bring something for scale. Some
Banana
people
for scale.
but you could bring banana, and you got snack. You got a cool snack there in its own little wrapper. So bring a couple bananas, or some people would carry around like a 6-inch ruler. That's fine.
Measuring tape. Yep.
Right, measuring tape, something to have some type of scale for what you're talking about. It doesn't, your foot, I guess, can work, but disclose that information if you're sharing that with people, right? My foot is this size. Next to
I've
this
had
thing.
to do that before
Because
because I forgot my measuring tape.
Yep, if you're in the moment, you forgot your banana.
I had already eaten my banana, and it was the only banana for scale that I had. The whole thing was just fucked.
Bring a whole bunch of bananas, the whole thing.
Right. Bring a bunch of no less than 8 bananas.
Right, at least. And if you got someone else with you, double it.
Right.
16 bananas out in the woods. And you might be able to lure Bigfoot in, right? He's ape, right? They like
If
bananas.
he was a primate, fuck yeah.
He'll be happy to join, make a friend.
You know what else I have? I have Bigfoot pheromones. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen those pheromone chips?
No.
Where they smell like my fucking gym bag that full of clothes that haven't been washed in like 8 months?
I've seen like, I believe that exists. I've seen like urine. People will be like, oh, if you bring,
I'll bring them to Mothman this year. I'll bring them so you can smell the power of mighty Bigfoot pheromone chip.
Maybe I'll get COVID like 4 weeks before, and then I'll be recovered enough, but still have my no smell.
Yeah,
no, I'm curious what they smell like.
They are pungent, to say the least. I don't mind. Like, for whatever reason, I don't know. Smells don't bother me. I think skunks smell good. Like I'm serious. I do think they smell good.
Are you a stoner?
Yeah, I mean, No.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, yeah, of course not.
But no, I mean, I used to smoke weed. I don't smoke weed anymore. It's been a long time. But I maybe that's why,
Right,
like it kind of smells like weed.
nostalgia.
But yeah, anyway, I don't think they're that bad. Emily thinks they're bad enough where she'll fucking dry heave. And so does everybody else that has ever smelled them that I know of. So
Yeah, I'm not usually that sensitive to smells, so but I would like to check them. I want to know what Bigfoot smells like.
Bigfoot pheromone. You wanna turn on Bigfoot? Well, I've got the means to do so. And not just my rugged good looks, a whole jar of pheromones. That's right. Bigfoot
Well,
never stood a chance.
do you just like open them while you're out and about and just
No,
carry
the
them
only
around with
time
you?
I used them on an investigation is when we set up a trail camera
Okay.
in the kettle moraine, and I tied some pheromone chips up with it. Because otherwise, like what are you gonna do? Just walk around with like this open jar? Um,
Yeah, with your camera and your flashlight and your bananas and
right. I put a chip in a banana, and no, but yeah. So it was it was interesting. Actually, that was kind of a weird situation because what ended up happening is this was a pretty nice trail camera. I still have it, and for whatever reason, I could never figure it out. It just wouldn't record between certain hours. So it's
huh,
got a motion detector on it, and there was nothing about the lighting or anything that would change between these hours where it should have stopped taking pictures. But what was interesting was that it was, of course, the hours that are like during which most activity occurs.
sure.
And so, like, I don't have a good explanation for this because it doesn't make any fucking sense because the trail camera otherwise operates fucking perfectly. But for whatever reason, when I left it out there in this, this area renowned for fucking high strangeness, it wouldn't record during like this span of however many hours. But otherwise it was recording just fine. And like so I would get I don't know, deer wandering around and shit like that. Oh yeah, that would set it off no problem. But it just would shut down at a certain time, like early evening, and then wouldn't start up again until like the early morning hours. And I was like, well, those are the times where everything is fucking reported. And
Right.
it is just beyond coincidence to me that it would just stop working for just those fucking times when there's no reason for it to. So
Bigfoot didn't. I mean, you had those Bigfoot pheromones out there, so the Bigfoot brought his big lady, and he didn't want you seeing his dick. So
I mean, I did not ask for consent
that's true.
before filming
Yep.
their act of love.
Yep.
So that's fair. I'm probably lucky he didn't fight me. So,
Like this
but
fucking guy, he didn't even bring us any bananas.
yeah, right. Like at
Um,
least banana for scale, so everybody, so everybody knows how big his dick is. Yeah, but
4 bananas.
hey, if I, Jesus, good for you, Bigfoot. But yeah, I mean, it was just such a classic like high strangeness, trickster bullshit kind of
Yeah.
thing to have happen.
Well, right. That's why it happened. That's the
Right.
explanation. That's it.
Well,
Again, is it
right.
because it's fucking with us? I don't know if it's on purpose or what, but I don't appreciate it.
Well, and that's kind of the thing for me too, which is why when we first started talking about what to bring, like equipment, it's cool, and there's way more of it than we could ever cover in this one episode. So go ahead and go, hit the internet and see what like you think is cool, like see what appeals to you in terms of equipment that you would want to bring on any particular investigation. But you can't rely on it. You can't
Right. You can't.
because so much of this seems to be impervious to all known methods of scientific recording. So we do our best and sometimes we get lucky, but so much of it is just seemingly impossible to capture
Yeah.
that I think you're better off if you're in this honestly for what I would consider to be the right reasons or at least good reasons. It's not, my way is not the only way, but if you're doing this altruistically, I don't think you need equipment, or at least you shouldn't rely on it a ton, because I think the experience is what really matters. And you can't rely on your equipment anyway, so fucking who cares?
Yeah, I agree. You don't need a ton. As you continue to do it, I understand it's fun to get a new toy, and I don't
Oh
blame
yeah.
you. I will
I've got
continue.
plenty, believe me.
Right, I would continue to buy new stuff. Drone is next on my list. They're expensive. I don't have one. I'd love to have one.
Yeah.
That would be really cool, right? Am I going to capture anything? Probably not. It'll probably crash and burn, right? The aliens will zap it out of the sky.
You crash it first time out.
Right. Then there's just like one blurry image of Bigfoot. And then I gotta go fucking share it to the Facebook groups, and everybody's like, whoa, nobody can take a good picture anymore.
Right.
And they're right, Fuck. But yeah, that's of course, perfecting that equipment. But if you're just starting out, like there's no shame in just having basic survival gear, right? And your phone. Again, your phone is your best friend. And then just, maybe you continue to add pieces. Maybe you go buy the $8 voice recorder. Maybe you go buy the $60 body camera. It just depends on what you can do. The one thing that I kind of touched on briefly is that I personally, and this is again not everybody, I like to use tools of divination while I'm out and about.
Sure, I do the same thing.
I like to use the spirit box. Do I think that it's actually spirits talking to me? Probably not. I haven't decided what my opinion is of it, but I'd rather have it than not.
We've got some compelling results, and this
Yeah.
this is everywhere from haunted houses to the middle of the fucking forest. We have
Mhm.
got interesting results on our various spirit boxes.
Yep.
So
I
yeah,
like
hell
it.
yeah.
I prefer that. It's better than bringing a whole fucking Ouija board with you. You know what I mean? So it's just the
That's
same
just
fucking thing,
impractical. Yeah.
pretty much, right? I mean, right? It's just bringing the spirit box. It's easy, which can be pricey. That's okay. Again, it's something that you can eventually invest in. I am fine. I have a phone app that I like to use, and I like using it because again, I'm not totally convinced that these are things that are specifically talking to me. I don't know
Right.
though. But it can be hard to find good and honest apps that actually are running through it's just fast running through radio stations. That's all it
Right.
is. That's what it is.
And if
Um,
it's a phone app that's specifically for ghost hunting, like you
don't
said,
use it. Yeah.
it's very, very difficult to find one that
Yeah.
isn't rigged to make it sound like you're talking to ghosts or
Yes.
something. So,
Right. Yeah. Don't use the ones that are like, it's just a word that pops up out of nowhere. Like there's tons of them that are out there that do that. Again, research, but at the end of the day, a good old fashioned actual spirit box itself, which is just a radio basically,
Yeah.
that runs through the radio waves, and you may get phrases and stuff. They're pricey. They're about 70 to $120 depending on where you're shopping. But it's still not that much more than your cameras and things. It's worth it, I think.
sure.
And it's fun, at minimum. If there's nothing to it, there's nothing to it. Great. But again, I'd rather have that information than not. Um, I also like to bring my pendulum personally.
Yep. I
Um,
always have it's eerie how similar we are, because I always have my pendulum on me too. Like I do.
yeah.
I use it in ghost hunting all the time.
Well, that's what I said about our Mothman presentations. It was cracking me up because they're so similar, right in the beginning, and then it's the rest that follows. I'm like, wow, um, it was funny, but yeah, the pendulum. I like to bring it. Again, is this something specifically talking to me? I'm open enough, right? It's intuitive. Learn how to use it. It's very easy and it's very small and it can fit right in your pocket.
Yes.
So you can even, well, I'd say you could tie it up on a necklace, but then you'd have to undo it really to get a good results. But,
Yeah.
some people bring tarot cards. I have I have a specific set of cryptid tarot cards that I will use before I go on an investigation. I don't bring them with me.
Mhm.
Tarot cards aren't going to be like, yeah, you're going to find aliens, right? And why do I use the cryptid set? I just thought it would be fun to have one for work, and so I picked cryptids.
Sure.
But sometimes it feels significant, not just like the cards that you get, but like sometimes the pictures that I'll get, like the actual creature compared to like what I'm trying to do, is significant itself. Again, it's intuitive. This is nothing scientific. I'm not going to prove anything with it.
Right.
But it gives me some jumping off point. It's part of my ritual, part of my routine. to do that, and that's me. That's what I do.
Well, and I think that that is important because,
Mhm.
like I said before, the only the only means we seem to have, the only tool we seem to possess that is capable of reliably detecting or recording paranormal like phenomena is the human brain, right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
most of the evidence we have is experiential. And so finding different ways to incorporate your mind into investigation, I think can lead down some very interesting avenues. And so, divination, whether or not you believe that that is some spiritual force communicating with you, or some act of ritual magic, or just some way for you to communicate with your own subconscious, it still has value because, again, we can't predict this stuff, at least not
Right.
reliably. If we could, it would already be settled fucking science and it would just be taught in school and it would be no different than like fucking gorillas and shit, right? But we can't. And so we have to try to use any means possible to at least point us in the right direction. And I think that's where divination comes in. And that is the same thing that I'll do before I go on some kind of investigation is I will cast runes. I don't do tarot cards, but I like runes. And so I'll use those. And it's just a way to try to attune yourself to the investigation and to the phenomenon. And if you can glean some kind of insight out of it, more the better.
Yeah.
And then, maybe if this act of divination points you in the right direction, the rest of your fancy fucking cameras and shit might have a chance in hell of actually capturing something.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's just kind of part of the ritual, getting you in that headspace to be open, to have an open mind, in order to potentially have an experience. A lot of people that have done this for a long time will tell you that, you know, y- you have to be open to it in order for it to happen anyway, right? So
Yeah.
do everything you can to try to, for lack of a better term, manifest that experience, right? That way you can actually maybe capture some physical evidence because you're having it. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, UFO hunting is a little different than going out in the woods. Well, it might not be. Some woods have
There's overlap.
ufological activity, allegedly. But, sometimes if you get a report of things, you kind of have to look at it. I've never gotten reports where it's like, oh, well, pretty much every night of the week between this hour and this hour, like you'll see these strange lights in the sky. I've never had that. If I did have that, my ass would be there between this time and this time at that spot, trying to see the strange lights in the sky.
Of course.
Other people have though. Withville was a good example. I mean, there was pretty much a spot and time that you could consistently see these UFOs constantly. It does happen, or allegedly happen, I should say. Um, but I have had better experience, even though I get prepared to go out in the woods. I do all this fucking prep work. I have more videos of UFOs than anything as evidence. And just because they're UFOs does not mean they're extraterrestrial. Of course, I want to believe that they are, but for whatever reason, I don't know. I end up being lucky to catch those. I don't know why. Um, those are kind of more in the moment. You can definitely collect those stories. You can definitely curate a friendship with an abductee, have them be open enough with you to where maybe you could do some deeper shit. Like they're getting abducted, at least once a month. You can go sleep over at their house, I guess, if you want. You can definitely take that a lot further, but it's kind of a lot harder to physically investigate. I don't know if you agree or not. But
To physically
you were talking
investigate,
about the MUFON thing.
sure. To physically investigate UFOs. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point because unlike something like a cryptid sighting normally or a haunting, there is often a level of distance between the phenomenon and the observer, so like you said, I mean, most of the time when people are seeing UFOs, they're seeing lights in the sky, or maybe some kind of craft, but it's in the sky, and they don't get super close to it. And and this is something that I think UFOs and cryptids often have in common, is unlike, say, a haunted house. The level of repeatability is not high. There is not a
Yes.
lot of repetition in the same area, necessarily. Now, there are UFO flaps, of course, and so you will sometimes get reports that happen over the span of a finite amount of time from one area. And if you can manage to hop on a plane and fly wherever you need to fly to become a part of that, then fucking great. But otherwise, areas that are renowned year in and year out for having UFO sightings are probably just in fucking airport flight paths and shit.
Yeah.
And you're getting a lot of misidentifications and similar.
Right.
Um, what's interesting, though, I think, is the breadth of the UFO phenomenon, because it's not just craft. It's the occupants of those craft and how they interact with people. But
Mhm.
again, not often predictable. Doesn't necessarily repeat, even with abduction experiencers.
Right.
Their experiences are not easy to predict, and they could go months or sometimes years between events in their abduction cycle, right? And so, again, like, you could follow them around all the time and still not and not have anything happen. And none of us really are necessarily capable of just being like, you know what? I'm just going to follow this person around for the rest of their life or mine to see
Right.
if they get fucking abducted or something. Because one, that's crazy. And two, like, of course, it's very impractical.
Yeah.
And it might never ever turn anything up. And so, like, there are some difficulties there. However, I think that there is a reason that some of the most compelling video evidence for any paranormal phenomenon out there is for UFOs. And that's because I think that, unlike many other phenomena, UFOs lend themselves better to being captured on camera. And so, if you are diligent and you love watching the night sky, which I do, your chances of capturing interesting UFO evidence is probably higher than it is of capturing, even a cryptid, um, or a ghost or anything else. So, yeah, I think there are pros and cons to
Mhm.
UFO in investigation, but that certainly seems to be a pro to me.
Yeah. And some people think that there's a tie between like ufology and the shit that's going on in the woods. And there might be.
Yeah, maybe.
There might be. Or, ufology and haunted houses. There might be.
I
We
take
don't
a
know.
Fortean approach, and I know you do
Yep.
too.
Yep.
And so, I'm always looking for connections, and that's the other reason where I was like, look, I don't get necessarily a bunch of specialized equipment for every single thing that I do, because I think they all have enough in common where you can just use most of your equipment for all of it.
Yeah. Well, I just meant more in the fact that, like, if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I saw a UFO," I'm probably just going to take the report, ask a couple of questions, and go on about my day.
Okay.
If somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I saw a Bigfoot," I'm probably going to go there.
I
You
would
know what I
go there
mean?
if they saw a UFO for sure.
You would?
I
Hmm,
would,
interesting.
and the reason being, is because going to the actual spot is going just like any other sighting report that you get. Going to the actual spot has value in terms of investigating what they really saw, because sometimes you'll go to the spot and you'll see a distant cell phone tower or something that has a light on it to warn planes. And then you'll realize, and this is a real case that I really investigated, and you'll realize that what the person really saw was one of the lights off of this tower through some trees while they were driving down the highway that made it look through motion parallax like this fucking light was moving, but it wasn't moving. It was the fact that they were in a moving car moving past these trees that made the light look like it was moving through these trees.
That's a good
And
point.
and you don't find stuff like that out unless you go and investigate. And there's always the possibility too that there could be some physical evidence. Of course, you never know. And other people in that area might have seen stuff, so you never know if you'll run into somebody who also like happened to be a witness or something. So yeah, if I get a report of anything that I can get to, I'm going to want to, if possible.
Well, and that it kind of leads me into my last point. Personally, um, start in your own backyard. I mean, not literally, right? But like, start in your neighborhood, start in your city, start in the cities around you, start in your state. Investigate places that you can easily get to because it's great to like go and investigate other places, and I have a personal bucket list, of course, of places I want to go to. It's expensive. You want to talk about cost. Even though, I've said it a million times, a weekend in West Virginia is about $200, and that's not bad at all. And it's fun and it's beautiful there. And just as an adventure, it's nice. I can't spend $200 every weekend to go there. It
That
adds
would
up.
add up fast.
But that's just like that's specific to that area. If I want to go to, like, say for instance, my big hang up has been getting to Chicago. Well, that's way more expensive.
Oh, no shit.
To go, hang out in Chicago for the weekend. It adds up. So if you can, if you don't know what to get into, like a big misconception, people ask me my opinion on different creatures and cryptids and experiences. And, a lot of time my answer is like, I don't really know anything about that. Which is why I network with other people that also will specialize in things that I've never researched before. Because if you have questions about that thing, I can send you to them. They'll know better than I do. But it's also because like I can't physically get it. Like I can't go to Loch Ness. That's more of a passion project for me. Like I just enjoy the the Loch Ness monster. But I can't go there and check out the loch. Like it's just not something that I'm not fucking researching. Megalodon in the ocean. I'm in a landlocked state. It's not my deal. Um, you know, eh, but become good at your local area, become good at that thing. And then when you become good at that thing in your local area, you can then use that again as a networking tool to build your community that you're absolutely going to fucking need if you want to make any headway at all in any of this. You're going to need other people. You are not going to be an expert on everything, and you shouldn't strive to be. It's just not possible. Pick your little things that you could easily look at and collect evidence and go investigate and go do and go see and become really fucking good at it. And then take that and share it with somebody in a neighboring state. Share it with me in Ohio, and then I'll share whatever I've got in Ohio with you, or Tobias in Wisconsin. He'll share his thing.
Sure.
We need that networking so bad. We need that buddy system. It's just the way it is.
And that creates opportunities too. So if you are interested in traveling more and getting out there, um, networking, making contacts, making friends, ideally, because anybody who goes into a social situation trying to network is probably kind of a dick. But you make these friends, and it does create opportunity to go and do things.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of areas that I have been able to investigate because I was invited to speak at a conference there or something. And, if that makes it a lot cheaper, because if you're having like your hotel comped and, you got a speaker fee or something, or even if you're just there like selling books or whatever, all of a sudden you've got something that under other circumstances might have cost you hundreds of dollars, and it's not costing you anything now. And that's just because you've done good work starting where you are,
Mhm.
and that has translated into you being invited to talk about that good work in other areas, and then you can investigate those areas, and then it just spreads out like this whole awesome web, and you'll see opportunities come up, and just take them. And
Oh yeah.
that's how you get to go to interesting places. At least
Well,
that's how you do if you're me and you're otherwise not going to finance them.
and honestly, I've made some really good friends in this community that live in fucking other states
Oh yeah,
who invite me to come stay at their house, and then we will go do their thing, or they can come stay at my house and we'll go do my thing.
sure.
Like, fucking, how much money does that save? And it's awesome to hang out with your friends and have a sleepover. You can do that as an adult.
You totally can. You have our permission, in fact.
Yeah, right. You're allowed, and we're adults, both of us. We have bills and stuff and responsibility
Oh
and
yeah,
bananas.
I had to register for jury duty the other day.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
that's
pretty adult.
adult. That's
Yeah.
adult as fuck.
I did my taxes on time.
Oh yeah, I did that too.
Yeah. So I
Ugh.
mean, yeah, no, but again, that networking is going to then, you're going to have actual bonds with people, like, which is awesome.
Yeah,
Um, and then that's going to lead you into, like Tobias said, all these opportunities for you to maybe get out and explore other things. Um, and then, like I said, just kind of put your brain power together. Don't underestimate perspective. Don't underestimate getting the opinions of others. There's nothing wrong with that. I have gotten evidence, I've gotten reports, I've gotten photos, I've gotten things that I'll share with my friends and be like, "Hey, what do you think about this? Check this out." Because I want to hear their opinions. Maybe they pick up on something that I don't. That's another reason why I mean, it's small, but it's something you guys can actually see over on the Fringes of Reality, the sister show. I have a co-host on there, not because I need one, right? I'm there with another person. Like, we have plenty of banter, it's fine, but because they're going to add a different perspective and their questioning and where their mind goes when people are sharing those experiences. It's nice to have that. It's not a hindrance. It shouldn't be a competition. It should be another tool in your fucking toolkit. And
for sure.
you're missing out if you're not using it. So,
Agreed. I think that's something that a lot of people miss out on if they get into this, because they're chasing fame.
yeah.
Is they just become threatened by everybody, and everybody around them becomes either somebody they can use or competition.
Yep.
And then they don't ever make any friends, and they wonder why nobody seems to like them or they're not getting anywhere. And it's because you just can't fucking treat people that way,
Right.
you know? Like,
Yeah.
collaboration, not competition. We're all in this together, and anybody who isn't a fucking dick is in this for the same reason, and that is compassionate curiosity. You
Yeah.
know, and there's no reason why we can't all work together, towards the same goal. So
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's why I guess we'll bring it back full circle. Knowing what you're doing it for to begin with. Understanding that. Why do you want to get into this? And keeping that in mind, because it's going to get hard. You're going to question yourself. You're going to want to quit. You're going to come across some stupid ass fucking picture of a bear on Facebook groups, and you're going to be mad because people think it's Bigfoot. Uh, it's going to happen, and you have to ground yourself and bring yourself back to, once again, why do I still do this? For what? And nobody can answer that but you. That's up to you to decide. So I do it because I want to get probed by grays.
any excuse to hang out naked in the TNT area, really.
Right, exactly. That's it's not weird. I'm out here looking for Mothman.
Shut up, you're weird.
I mean, whatever. Big ultra terrestrial orgy is my goal at the end of the day. It hasn't happened yet, so that's why I'm still here.
Fingers
Um,
crossed.
Tobias can be bought off with money. I can be bought off with ultra terrestrial orgy. So
Everybody has their price.
but yeah. Tobias, do you have any final thoughts on this is a long one.
It is a long one.
But there's a lot to it. So
Yeah, I guess I think we did a pretty good job sort of introducing people to investigation. The only thing that I would add, and now of course we covered the fact that witnesses are human beings. I just can't emphasize that enough. And fundamentally, if you are wondering how to approach people who have had these kinds of experiences, my suggestion is don't, unless they have put themselves out there already, or unless they come to you, you know. So if you, for instance, if you see somebody who has commented on a Facebook post about a UFO sighting, I think it's okay to reach out to them and be like, hey, would you like to talk more about that UFO sighting? I'm an investigator, so on and so forth. Um, but you know, if you read about somebody in a magazine or on the internet or something, and you try to like track them down, just just maybe don't fucking do that. You know, just maybe leave them alone unless an actual organic opportunity arises for you to speak with them, because otherwise you're probably just harassing them. And I know it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like that to you, but believe me, like people don't, they don't appreciate it. And
Yeah.
so you just need to remember, and we already said this, but it's important, so I'm going to say it again. These are human beings who have had very impactful, often traumatic experiences, and they are not curiosities, and they're not here for our entertainment. And so you have to remember that and treat them accordingly.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then people will actually talk to you. Then they will open up to you.
They
But
will.
that's how you have to treat them first.
Yeah. It's slow going. You know, you have to build a reputation um, for yourself, a good one. So, I mean, stay credible. It will do you good to be honest. It really will. You don't want to be known as that guy, you know, in this community. But if you stay true to your goals while you're doing it, if you're honest about the things that you're finding, people will come to you in droves. They really will. And sometimes it gets overwhelming. At one point in time, I had like 6,000 unread emails in my inbox. Swear to fucking God, it was nuts. You know, that's a lot. Now, most of them didn't write back or had anything that I knew anything about, or, you know, whatever. But that was like a year of like me doing this and not checking my email also. Um, Eventually, like I said, they will come to you. And so you don't really need to go searching for them too much, or you will organically come across them. You know, it just depends. But, you know, obviously, again, if it's somebody that's like writing books about their experiences and like you see that they're obviously going around talking about them, like, yeah, they're probably safe to reach out to. But also
Right.
remember that investigators are people too. Investigators, researchers, all these people that are, you know, the podcasts you listen to, the books that you read, the YouTube channels you go on, they're also people. Like they don't owe you their time. They don't owe you anything at all. And even though, like, yes, this is what they do, like you know, again, they're also doing other things like watching Star Trek or tabletop role playing or whatever.
Fuck
Tobias
yeah, if
does.
they, that's what they're doing if they're awesome.
You know, that's what they're doing. So like don't feel like you're slighted by these people if like you message them and they don't get back to you. Like probably 50 other people have messaged them that day, you know.
Oh yeah,
Uh
it's taken me weeks to get back to people
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, it takes time. And like I'll read this, like I'll read it, but I won't really read it. I'm just like opening the notification to get rid of it. And then I
Right.
forget that you messaged me and it's totally not on purpose. You know, if somebody's like, "Hey, I messaged you, you know, a couple weeks ago, I didn't hear anything." Like totally fine. Don't throw a bunch of, you know, don't be the creep in the DMs. "Hey, hello, hi, what's up?" You know, "Hey."
Ugh.
Just having casual conversation. I mean, honestly, I don't have a lot of time for that. I know a lot
Open
of us
with
don't.
what you want. Tell me what
Right.
you want. Don't say,
Yes.
"Hey, how are you doing?"
Yes. Right.
Just start. It may seem rude, but it's not. Just start with
It's
exactly
not.
what you want.
Right. If you have a question, even if it's like you want my opinion on something, just like right away, "Hey, what do you think about this thing?" Like, don't ask me how I'm
Yes.
doing. Like,
We don't have time for small talk. It's
yeah.
fine.
I mean, right. And then we'll get to business, you know. Definitely a great tip to reach out to other people in this community. Just be direct. You know, we love that.
Nothing irritates me more literally than somebody just being like, "Hey, how are you?" And I don't fucking know this person.
Yeah.
And I just don't even respond. I'm like,
Right.
"Look, this isn't going to happen. Whatever you think this is, it's not going to happen. Lead with what you want or just don't say anything." I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If you're looking for companionship, call an escort. Like I'm that's not what I do.
You should get an escort's phone number on speed dial for these people.
I
Just
should
like
be like,
recommend.
yes, you want to call this? Yeah, call this number. Yeah.
Yeah, if we have any sex workers that work for the show, give us your contact information. We'll pass it along to these people.
Bam. Yes.
We'll network. That's what it's about.
Absolutely.
So anyway,
Just helping out good, honest, just
hell
helping
yeah,
out good, honest people who work for a living.
hell yeah, totally, totally down for that. But yeah, no, definitely be direct. And then, keep in mind, it is a small community. Everybody knows everybody, but not everybody knows who you are. And I know that those seem like they contradict themselves, but, take it however you want. Don't get caught up in the drama. Um, it's just not worth your time. That's that. Don't do it. Just don't fucking engage, period. Like with the negative aspects. There are enough positive, good people in this community even though it's small, there's enough of us who aren't assholes that you can easily ignore the drama folks, the drama circles, and get on board with the nice people,
Yes.
So.
Agreed.
All right. I've talked enough. I'm tired. I'm hungry. And bananas sound great. So with that being said, guys, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.